Welcome to episode 16 of Real Talk with a Vulnerable Angel and Friends. I am your host, Dominica May, the Vulnerable Angel. And joined tonight, I have my guests, Mike Brown and Sharad. Oh my God, Sharad, I apologize. I said Mike's last name, but I don't even know how to pronounce your last name. Oh my God, he's disappeared. I've offended him.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I know how to spell it now, but I don't think I've ever actually heard it pronounced.
Okay, so my full name is pronounced Vemalanathan. So Vim, a la Nathan. So you just say it 10 times over in your head, and hopefully a genie will pop up. And
Vemalanathan?
Vemalanathan?
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. If you are
no
new,
Fillion at the end.
Not yet. No Voldemort. No different thing. Hyphenated.
No, Nathan Fillion.
I wish.
This is why I was just using first names before, because I was not displaying my ignorance. Welcome. If you are new to this show, what we do is we just have vulnerable, personal, deep conversations with each other, inspired.
My cat is literally chewing the cord to my camera right now.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Oh my goodness.
That's why it just cut out for a second.
Wow.
What a little shit.
So sometimes we have question cards that we use to inspire our conversations. We also answer questions from the chat. It looks like we do have a question or a comment already on board from one of our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us. It's right off the bat. Daniel, let me bring up your comment here.
Daniel!
I asked the desk clerk for some snacks while I wait, but it wasn't a desk clerk. It was a garden gnome. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we need a better snack room or a candy bar or a snack bar or something.
I will say that garden gnome does a really good job at deterring thieves.
There you go. It's just the only drink available is water from the garden hose, just the way Gen X likes it, right?
That's how we do.
That's all you need.
That's how I grew up.
Did you really?
Yeah. Wait, you guys never did?
I don't remember drinking from the garden hose. That doesn't mean I didn't do it, but I don't remember drinking from the garden hose.
Drinking from the garden hose become a generational thing.
Like, this is what I'm getting from the videos that I see on social media from Gen X. Like Gen X are the ones that talk about it the most, I feel like. Yeah. And I don't know, there are some, because I'm an elderly millennial, so I do have some things in common with Gen X here. I think Mike as well. I don't know about where the cutoff is, if you're included as well, Sharad, but the in-between micro generation of Zennial.
Zennial, yeah.
Which is like in the middle of Gen X and millennial. But yeah, it's a whole thing.
We're getting technical, and I believe we talked about this before, but if we're getting technical, I do fall into that Zennial range.
Yeah, same.
But because Pepsi in the 90s had such a strong marketing campaign called the Pepsi generation, I thought that was a real thing. I thought that was an actual generation. I did. So I still, and for the rest of my life, even though I'm a Coke drinker, I will always think of myself as the Pepsi generation.
See, it was known as Gen Y when I was growing up in Australia, I feel like. So I still like Gen Y. And I don't know why that's like gone out of fashion, because it's like Gen X and Gen Z. Then why is it millennial? It should still be Gen Y. That's the letter in between.
No, I get it.
Yeah. All right. We still got a couple more comments now. Just because I don't remember putting my lips to the hose doesn't mean I didn't do it. Accurate.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't remember doing that definitely happened. I had so I've talked about me writing a memoir, right? But I have a friend of mine who I met in Malaysia. He's not from there. He messaged me a couple years back to let me know that he was writing a memoir and he had written about me in it. And he was like, "Do you remember this and that?" And I'm like, "I do not remember that at all. But I believe it happened, but I don't remember it." So, I mean, I don't have a problem with him, writing whatever it is that he wanted to say about it. But I'm curious. I want to read now to see what he had to say about me. But yeah. So that was a whole thing. My dad has shown up. I was just saying to Sharad before the stream that my dad was messaging just before, like a couple of hours ago, and he was like, "I'm going to go to sleep now." And I'm like, "I guess you're not going to be around for the stream then?" And he's like, "Well, I sleep on enough throughout the day, so we'll see." My dad has dropped us a comment here. Make sure it is drink safe hose. Some have lead. Hopefully not anymore.
I totally
Not
think
anymore.
I would actually, if I may, I'd like to address your dad for a moment. On the stream last week, Sharad, what you missed is Dominica and I can't remember specifically what it was that we were talking about, but I had brought up this idea of something that I want to start doing because I have I've always had a conflicted relationship with prayer. I do believe in like a deity or a higher power. Shorthand term is God, right? So for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, I've definitely felt like very conflicted in prayer and like vocalizing those prayers or even just having like a mental like saying a mental prayer in my mind in real time. And there's just something about that process it just doesn't do anything for me. Like it feels forced. I go through the motions because I feel like, oh, well, this is how we've been taught how to pray, and this is the proper way. And it's never really felt authentic to me. So I had this idea, and I brought it up on the show last week, which is, I think I want to start like writing, call it a prayer, but I kind of refer to it as a letter. Like writing a letter to and address it to whomever I want to address it to, and just write everything down. Like get it down the way that you want it to sound, phrase things the way that you want to phrase things. You can take your time writing as opposed to like thinking in the moment, speaking in the moment. Sometimes we misphrase things. Sometimes we say things because we know that that's the thing that we're supposed to be saying, right? And so, Frank, you sent me a message through your daughter that I found was incredibly profound, very helpful, actually. He listed 5 different, 5? Maybe it was 10. Oh boy, I want to know. But anyway, Frank listed a whole bunch of bullet points on our relationship to God, and assign whatever name you want to that God figurehead. But yeah, I found it very helpful, very insightful, very profound, very moving. And so last night I wrote out and I forgot the second part of this is that once you write the letter, light it on fire. And you just burn the entire thing. So that like the smoke and the ash can just kind of go off into the universe and be absorbed, or hopefully be sent to whomever is supposed to receive that. So last night I wrote down my first letter to my dad, actually, and I haven't really talked to him since he died. Every now and again, I would, just kind of, I'd find myself alone, and I would kind of verbally talk to him. But I don't know, it just feels weird. It feels more authentic to me, at least, to write a letter and to address it to him, and say the things that I want to say and catch him up on various bits and this, that, and the other. Anyway, so Frank, I just want to say thank you for your message, for your thoughts, for your insight. No need to delve deeper into it than we currently already have, at least tonight. I'm good for now. I'm good for crack
Sounds
that
good.
lid open again tonight. But no, it was much appreciated, very thoughtful, and it was very meaningful to me. So thank you.
Good.
Yeah. See, there you go. Anyone who wants to drop some comments after the live has ended, and maybe you have a question or a comment for Sharad or Mike, I will pass it along, even if they're not checking the comments on the video. But yes, there you go. Lego Timmy is joining us as well, saying hello.
Lego Timmy!
Hey, buddy.
What's going on, man?
His profile picture. Good to have you back. I wasn't sure, if because last week, another thing that you missed, Sharad, is that we were asked about our opinions of Trump, and
oh boy,
and I wasn't sure if Timmy was going to still be okay with sticking around, given
we found that you hopefully, because politics are not something that I like to discuss in a public setting, because everyone's already made up and we all feel the way that we feel, so we're not changing anyone's minds.
Yeah,
but I feel like Lego Timmy's, sorry, my zipper is stuck, and that's all I can fixate on right now. Lego Timmy's question, I feel like, came from a place of genuine curiosity, and it didn't feel like it was coming from a place of judgment or malice or anything like that. So I felt comfortable, and I don't know about you, Dominica, but I felt comfortable sharing my thoughts, and hopefully we did that in a way that was respectful to you, hopefully. And if
me or to Timmy?
To Timmy, yes.
Yeah, no, I hope so too. I mean, he did comment, and I don't think we brought up his comment until after he had to go to bed. But he did say that he appreciated our answer. So very much appreciate that. Okay, so got some more comments coming through here. So Daniel says, Mike's going to make a memoir about trying to figure out how to pray. He'll call it Rough Drafts to God.
Yeah, but it's going to...
That's actually a good title.
Say what?
That's actually a good title.
It's a really great title. You misspelled roughs, or rough. It's actually going to be written from the perspective of a dog, and it's going to go... Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
To cater to the younger audience.
My dad said, burning the letter is a psychological technique, not spiritual.
Correct.
And then Timmy responded, everyone can have their own opinions, and I'm not going to hate you for having a different opinion. Appreciate that.
My boy.
All right. Okay. As I've said before, feel free to ask us some actual questions. It'll get us going into deep, vulnerable, personal topics. No topic is too much, hopefully.
Superficial is anything you want.
Yeah, we haven't had any kind of lines drawn or anything yet. I had so this week I published. I don't post to my blog very much, but I did post. I did post last week as well, but this week I made a post about being a recovering fearful avoidant attachment style, and kind of my insights about what I've learned to adapt and focusing on myself and what I could do to change rather than focusing on what other people can do to communicate better and that sort of thing. And if that's something you want to know more about, I know I've talked about it on the stream a little bit, but it's a little bit more thought out in a way. My dad really appreciated it. And my Australian bestie was like, you should do a podcast dedicated to that attachment stuff that you've been learning. I'm like, I don't know that I need another podcast about things, but we'll see about these kinds of things of for, I don't know, if I might do shorter videos or something, but yeah, have you guys thought or like delved into attachment style stuff yourself to kind of figure out where you're at with your secure attachment, or does it kind of depend on who you're in a relationship with? Do I need to go into detail about what that stuff means?
Sharad?
I think it's very subjective, and everything goes by case case. It's not even person by person because it really depends on where you are in your life. And yeah, I mean, like for example, like something that I think everyone can get behind is that COVID changed a lot of things for us, right? We all became very insular, and even though we took things for granted and we had to learn to adapt, it was very, very lonely. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I still struggle with today. Like, we all have our individual experiences, but hopefully now things are getting better. So yeah.
I develop emotional attachments to things. I mean, obviously I develop emotional attachments to people, but I was just thinking about this when you were describing that, Dominica, of I have this very visceral memory from when I was not super little. I'm maybe like 7 years old, something like that. My dad rarely had days off. So my dad was a mail carrier, right? So his only real day off was Sunday. And then he had like a random day off in the middle of the week because you have to have 2 days off a week, right? So we always had Sundays because the post office was always closed on Sunday. But then he would also get like a randomly assigned day off somewhere else throughout the week. Very rarely was it ever Saturday. He always had to work Saturdays. So there was this one day that I feel like my brother and I either like we were off from school or we took a sick day just to have like a day with dad, something like that. So he took us to the dollar store, which doesn't seem like a big adventure. But for us, it was like we're skipping school and we're going to the dollar store. Like there was something very special about that, right? So it's not hard to imagine how big of a fan I am of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? So there was do you guys remember Color Forms? Did you ever have Color Forms growing up? So it's like like a piece of like paper, right? And it had like a printed background of like the park. Let's just say there was like a little cartoon background of the park or whatever. And then you would get these vinyl cutouts of like various characters, in this case, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then you would like peel and stick them because it was vinyl. It was all like static electricity, and that's how it stuck to the plastic cardboard, whatever. And so you'd have these vinyl cutouts and of like all these different characters and weapons and all kinds of things. And then you just stick it anywhere on the board that you want, and you can kind of play with like these. It was like an upgraded version of like paper dolls, basically. And I got this TMNT Color Forms little. It was like $1, right? It was so cheap. Right?
Well, it was out through the dollar store, so it better have been $1.
And I remember the clerk put this little thing in this tiny little plastic bag, and I was clinging on to this for dear life because I only just got it, and I already had this emotional attachment to it. And then we walked, because there was a river that ran through our town. We walked across the bridge, and I remember the wind was blowing so hard, and I was so terrified that the wind was going to rip this out of my hand. and my $1 Ninja Turtles color form kit would be gone forever. And it was this visceral nature of just like loving this thing so hard, this thing that I only just received. And I know that feeling has most definitely transposed itself into like real life relationships, to the point where I didn't know how to be in a relationship when I first started dating, and I would do like some really weird, fucking creepy stuff. Um, like
Yeah, like I want to know now.
I convinced this we hadn't even gone on a date yet, and I convinced her roommate to let me in to her bedroom because I bought a little stuffed bear in Scotland, and I thought it was cute and adorable, and it would be the most adorable thing if she came home and just saw like this Scottish bear sitting on her bed. And I just thought that was the most like romantic, cute, adorable little gesture. And she was, a few steps away from filing a restraint order. Not really, not but, like, I had just done like really weird, creepy things because nobody had ever taught me like
What was
how.
appropriate.
Yeah,
The movies do not do well with teaching us what is and isn't appropriate as well. Like that sort of thing would have absolutely been seen as romantic in a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
You know?
of course.
So yeah, I get it. I have attachments to things as well. I don't know if exactly like that, of like immediately kind of thing, but I have like a few things that I still have that my mum gave me, and I have attachments to those things. So I remember like when I first moved here to California, and one of those items that I got from my mum is a purple blanket. It's not a very big one, but I do travel with it sometimes. And anyway, when we moved here, we had were kind of renting out for free one of the rooms in our place to somebody who was helping us like fix up and renovate the house. And he had a girlfriend at the time, and she like had no idea about my connection with this blanket and was using it at one point. I was like feeling so agitated and uncomfortable that somebody else was using this blanket that was like this special blanket to me. So yeah, I have some kind of things like that. It's like, don't touch my stuff. And speaking of don't touch my stuff, I don't think I've talked about this on the stream before, but one of the in the very, very early stages of my dating my ex-husband, I invited him over to my place, and he came into my bedroom, and I have a good collection of figurines, similar to what Mike's got in the background there, but like smaller figurines in the style like that you used to get in McDonald's Happy Meals, but not exclusively from those. Yeah. So I have a good collection of these kinds of figurines. And I had them all set up really nicely. And my ex-husband, he came in and started like touching them all. And I was like, I got really uncomfortable. Don't touch my stuff. Don't touch my stuff. And yeah, like it kind of felt like a red flag in a way that he was just like so touchy-feely with all of my stuff so early on. It wasn't enough to make me stop dating him yet, but like that was definitely one of the things that kind of got me to I guess I broke up with him after like a week of dating, and that was one of the things, but it was not the only thing that kind of came to mind, because I didn't know yet how to speak of like boundaries and like, no, that's not okay with me. Because how do you kind of verbalize that to somebody when,
well, of course, somebody that you fancy, that you're into, and they're doing something that is because it's also a mild uncomfortableness, right? It's not like he, called you the C word or something and
Right.
expected you to laugh it off. It
Right.
was just, it's like a simple, innocuous, like, oh, I'm interested, I'm curious. Hey, well, I just dropped that. Hey, what is this? Let's check this out, right? And like, how was he to know that that was gonna like
Right.
get under your
Yeah.
skin?
It was definitely a thing that he was inclined to do, though. I remember, one of his friends commenting to me once when he was like going through, we were visiting this friend's place, and like he was just going through and like looking, observing in very detail about like all the books that they had on the shelves and stuff. And I think he was touching their stuff as well. And they were like, that's really awkward and uncomfortable. So like he was like that with no matter who, and
Everyone. Fair enough.
it's weird. So I wasn't thinking about attachments to things in that way when I was talking about attachment styles, but it's interesting to.
Well, I think there's a lot of crossover there too.
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure.
Sharon,
Right.
what's something that you're emotionally attached to, like an object?
Okay, like probably the easiest one off the top of my head is my teddy bear. Like my dad got me a teddy bear when I was 3 years old. He went to Singapore for a work trip, came back, and it looked like a massive teddy bear. It's like this big, which I still have.
Well, when you're 3, that's enormous. It's the same size as your body.
Yeah, and it was great. Like his name is James. He's a panda bear, and like it's little things that like get to me. Like for example, we over time obviously he degraded and like he had like stuffing come out and his eye fell off, and that was like completely inconsolable. And my mom, bless her heart, she actually learned how to. She hadn't sewn anything in years, and she picked it back up and she put them back together.
Wow.
But it's just one of those things that even to this day still cracks me up. A friend of mine from England came to visit about 10 plus years ago. And we were just like lying in bed, and like she just started like touching like the teddy bear James and just holding him. And I just got my eye just started twitching. And I couldn't help it because she's my friend. It's not so she was taking him away or hurting him or damaging him or whatever. Yeah. And I remember she was just looking at me, just like, "Do you want me to put him down?" I'm like, "Yeah, please."
Wow.
Yeah.
Daniel has a comment on the attachment stuff here. I thought I had an unhealthy attachment once. Turns out I was just crazy glued to a McDonald's drive-through window.
I feel you there, sir.
That reminds me of a scene from American Pie.
What scene?
The super glue scene?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I saw a trailer for American Pie at the beginning of one of the films that I watched in the last couple of weeks, and so that reminded me of that scene. I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. I need to rewatch those movies.
It's been a minute since I've seen any of them.
No, I have the first 3 on DVD. I don't have the reunion and the other stuff that were kind of spin-offs and things, but
the original was what, 1998, I think.
I think so.
98, 99, something. I think it was 99, maybe. Somewhere around then. Late 90s, anyway.
I was in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Timmy asks, let's see. What's your thoughts on the egg prices down? Are they down? I have stopped shopping for eggs, so I have no idea what the prices are now. Last I heard, they were still like up because of bird flu reasons.
I think it's hard to get a gauge on it too, because everyone, like, I live in New York City. You live in Oakland, California. Sharad, you live in Malaysia. So, like,
and it's not going to impact Malaysia the same way.
But like, the cost of eggs are just different. Like, everything is expensive in New York. Everything is expensive.
Yeah.
It just is how it is. The cost of eggs in bumblefuck Iowa are not going to be anywhere near as expensive. Cost of living is down. It's just a
Yeah.
very different place. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't track it.
Unless the prices come down to around $4 in California, it's still too high for me. I've just stopped buying eggs. Like I wasn't eating them that often anyway, so it's not a big deal for me to cut them out completely.
My eggs, no, my kingdom for some eggs.
No, I think Timmy's comment came up because I did a video about the price of groceries on inauguration day, right? And I did that joke about how expensive the eggs still were. I was not blaming anything on the administration because it was like it's not like has no impact in my mind. I'm like that has no impact if it's on the same day. But I was also didn't know about the bird flu stuff at the time.
Well, I mean, the current administration has only been in office for what, 2 months? So like,
yeah,
they're not going to affect the cost of eggs in 2 months.
Like today, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't fluctuate.
Not when it's caused by bird flu. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, repopulate the chicken population in a matter of seconds? Like, no. But anyway, Daniel says, if anyone starts feeling uncomfortable, the safe word is bedazzler.
I like that.
Is that a reference to something specific that I am not thinking of, or is it just like
just a weird thing to say?
Weird thing to say.
I don't think that it's in reference to anything.
Yeah, I don't.
It makes me think of bedazzling your vajayjay. Have you guys heard of this?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't that like a huge thing in the that was like a huge thing in the 2000s, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's not something I've ever tried, but I remember hearing about it and thinking that is
sure.
Like, what guy is like, I want to see a fancy vajayjay?
No.
Is that a women's thing? Like, what is this about?
I mean, to be fair, like every time I've heard it, but it's always been a woman's choice. It's never been a guy that's been like, I need mine, like, deluxe, right? So
I don't even think it's a woman's thing. I think it was just a really small group of like
weirdos,
strange people. I don't even know if it's appropriate to say strange people. Just people who were like, hey, let's do this weird thing that's now going to become a fad. And it was so bizarre. It's like the 2 Girls 1 Cup video, right? Like it's so bizarre that it captures the attention of the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing up that memory, Mike.
Welcome.
All the, I don't know, I've never waxed, so that's not something that's appealed to me.
I have. It's painful as hell.
And that's why I've not, because I've certainly seen it in the movies. I mean, this is bringing up because I watched 40-Year-Old Virgin not that long ago. There's a waxing scene in that. I'm like, Meanwhile, I also just watched, as per Mike's suggestion, Bad Moms Christmas. And there's a waxing scene in that, of a guy. Guy's balls.
Justin Hartley.
And he does not react to it at all. It's just like, just continues on having the conversation with Catherine Hahn. Like, this is brilliant.
I love that movie so much. Did you see the first one?
Yeah, I watched the first one first.
And which is better, Bad Moms or Bad Moms Christmas?
Definitely the second one. Yeah, for sure. But, oh man, I was bawling by that, that scene in the church towards the end. I was like bawling my eyes out in that scene. I'm just like, granted, I mean, part of it is because I don't have my mom anymore, and I haven't for almost 20 years now. And so it's like this, like, I wish I could have experiences like this, but yeah, it was pretty overwhelming. But good. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all right. Let's see what order. My dad's got a question, but I think I'll bring up the comments first. All right, my dad says in response to my ex-husband touching my things, his touching your stuff reminds me of a technique one can use to discover others' spatial boundaries while sitting at a table. Everyone has an unconscious space boundary. Gently, more to come. Oh, wait. Continues here. Slowly move your cup randomly into their space. Don't make it obvious. Watch for protective defense responses. Oh, interesting.
I feel like I've heard of this. Like this technique, and just kind of more of like a social experiment to see how people are going to react.
Yeah. We all have like our defense mechanism, protective measures that we're kind of unconscious of, right? We just don't know until we're triggered, and then we don't even necessarily understand what has triggered our protective response as well, because it's all subconscious and automatic.
I think it's just about the setting. I mean, if let's say if two people, there's no space around you, and you or a complete stranger are in close proximity, yeah, fine. But if it's just you and a mate or whatever, and he literally gets in your face, and you're like, "What are you doing, bro?" So I suppose that's understandable.
Yeah, I think it's probably still safer or smarter to just verbalize the boundary kind of thing as well. Like I'm thinking like I had a friend over a couple of weekends ago, and I was making a pot of tea for us, and we're gonna like reuse the same stirring spoon, and I'm like, do you want to have a separate stirring spoon so that you're not like getting my germs from stirring several times with different cups? It must be like I'm stuttering here. With each like stir, each pot of each cup of tea, you're stirring with the same spoon. There's going to be some spit left behind, probably, right? Yeah. But so I was like, you can have a different spoon if you don't want to share my potential germs, and she was fine with it. But yeah, verbalizing, I think,
helps. Little things that we don't even think about,
just to make sure that people are okay with that. I was like, I've used this spoon earlier today for stirring my tea. I don't think I licked it. FYI. Yeah. Daniel has a comment here too. Disclaimer: Dominica May LLC has never used a sequin dispensing craft item to make their privates look like a disco ball.
Never say never.
Not yet.
Not at this point, but you never know. Maybe I will get a body double pussy. And no, I don't, probably not. All right, let me see. My dad had a question, which was, okay. Question time from the audience. Going from my interview with me.
Oh, from the, so I
right.
I have a show called I have a television show, but then I also have a vlog on YouTube and LinkedIn called the Pineapple Improv Show, where I interview people who either are improvisers or have done improv and are able to use those skills and techniques into their workplace, into their work life, and improve various skills and techniques like communication, listening, collaboration, public speaking, stuff like that, right? So Dominica was this week's guest, or rather, I interviewed you back in December. But
that's right. But I was finally posted. I did not specify, like when I shared the post, I didn't say this was recorded weeks and weeks ago. I was like, I'm this week's guest.
But yeah, so we film them in long in advance, so that I have just like this long catalog of videos to be released from week to week to week. So this was Dominique's week, and this week's topic was using improv to prepare you for job interviews.
Yeah. Or just using the improv skills in the actual interview itself as well. So yeah, if anyone wants to check that out, I linked to it on the community page on this YouTube channel. So go to the community page to have a look at that video. Not right now because we're live, but later on when you're done watching this.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's related. That's the. Like, I'm glad you made that connection, Mike, because I'm just like, what are you talking about, Dad? It was yesterday. A lot has happened since yesterday for me. I don't know, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. It only came out yesterday, huh?
Yeah, it was. So my dad asks, tell us your worst interview experience.
Mike, have you got one that comes to mind?
No, do you?
Sort of. Okay. Let me know if this qualifies as an interview. So basically, it wasn't really an interview per se. It was an on-camera experience where I had to. I was being screen tested, right? For those who don't know what screen testing is, it's basically if they're not sure if you as a performer, how you do on screen, how you look, can you carry yourself across well. So I was working. I was like in partnership with this production company that focused on green screen production, and they wanted me to do film and television reviews, which is really fun to upload to their YouTube channel, which was a lot of fun. But at this time, I was not used to being on camera, and for some reason, they're like, "Yeah, you'll be fine. You speak English. Just do it." I'm like, "All right, okay." And I did it, and the thing is that even though I wrote the script myself, even then, like because I was so unused to being on camera, and unfortunately, I just started panicking because with all the lights were on me, and to cut down on the sound, buffering sound, they turned off the air conditioning, so it was extra hot. So I just started sweating profusely, and just nothing went well. And I remember I kept on apologizing, going, "Guys, I'm ruining take after take after take." I'm like, "I'm so sorry." So that was awful for me. So interview, yeah.
No, that totally counts as an interview. That's interviewing for kind of an acting sort of thing. That's what interviews are like for acting things. The one that comes to mind for me is when I had to put together a presentation in advance to kind of explain databases or something like that to an audience. And I did not do very well in terms of preparation in advance. I didn't like practice what I was going to say.
No.
And I was so this was an instance where improv did not help me, because that's kind of when I'm like, I'll just improvise. But I would have done better, I think, if I felt a little bit more prepared. I don't even remember what the specific job was that I was interviewing for. It would have been something that a recruiter had reached out to me on LinkedIn about, because that tends to be the easiest way for me to get job interviews, is when recruiters find me and then say, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" Yeah, but that was pretty awkward. Yeah.
And look at you now.
Look at you now.
Look at you now.
This was while I was working my last job, so it's not like it was that long ago. I think a couple of years ago. Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
So long before I got my job at Lucky's Bar, of which I've been there for over 18 years now. What?
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
So my brother lives in Northern Virginia, and he was making a really big push for me to consider moving down there, like to the greater DC area, Washington, DC. And I was accepted to go to a few different schools down there. And everything out of state is just crazy expensive. Everything in state is also crazy expensive. But in order to afford the education that I wanted, I needed like a real decent paying job, not like crazy good pay, but like I needed like real adult money. So a job posting, or I saw a job posting to become a police officer for for one of the airports down there. I think it was for Reagan DCA airport, which, for if you're not familiar, it's the airport that is in Washington D.C. When you fly in, you pass like the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Monument and Memorial and Jefferson Memorial, like everything's
Cool.
There's
right
a metro station right there. You can get into the city very easily.
So, so my parents drove me down to DC. It was like a 6-hour drive. Like
Gosh.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I got a really good feeling about this. I'm gonna be a cop. Following my brother's footsteps. Right? There is, if you know me, there is absolutely nothing about my personality, about my work ethic, or about my physicality that screams
Police
"Hey,
officer.
police work." Nothing. Not a detective, not a clerk, not anything even remotely related.
Maybe that's why you would have made a good one.
I don't know, maybe
Maybe.
undercover.
Yeah.
Who's this goofball? And so I went in for the interview, and I talked to two different like department heads, and they were both so bewildered why I thought I would be a good candidate to be a police officer.
Were they
And
just like looking at each other the entire time? Just like
yeah, yeah. Like, who is this Jamook?
Do you remember what some of the questions were that like came up?
No, I don't. It was so long ago. It was just over 20 years ago. But I do recall referring to myself as it was like I called myself like a country bumpkin or a hillbilly.
you referred to yourself that way?
Oh my goodness.
So, what was that, Sharad?
You referred to yourself that way?
Yeah, because like I didn't grow up in a metropolitan city. I grew up in the sticks. I grew up in a town of 6,000 people, halfway between Erie and Pittsburgh. It was, 2 hours to get to Pittsburgh, an hour and a half to get to Erie. There was nothing around, no industry, nothing. It was just woods. All of those, redneck movies that we all watch and poke fun at and laugh at and be like, oh, that's where I grew up. Like I grew up with those people, and that I was one of those people. And so I remember in the interview I referred to myself as like a hillbilly or a guy from the sticks or something like that.
A man of the people.
Say what?
A man of the people.
A man of the people. And the interviewers stopped. They were so taken aback. And they were like, what did you say? It was almost like I dropped the N word.
Oh my god.
What did you say? Like, I'm
Come again? This time of year?
Probably not used to someone referring to that as themselves because it's an insult, right? So when you're referring it to other people, usually.
Maybe for people who live in major metropolitan cities, to call someone else a hillbilly is a real insult. But for someone who came from that environment, it's not an insult. It's a badge of honor.
Interesting.
Social pride.
Yeah, social pride.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term, but that's exactly what it was. And so I refer
kind
to
of like
myself.
a geek or a nerd, someone who self-identifies that way actually values and takes pride in it. But someone who's teasing someone for being that, it's like different connotation.
Yeah, and so, like it was, I just made it so awkward, and I didn't even know why. I didn't even like when they kind of shooed me out. They're like, okay, well, thanks for interviewing, and I said,
we'll be in touch.
Yeah, they didn't even say that. I said, when should I expect to hear back from you guys? And they were like, you won't.
That's funny.
Wow.
I was crushed. I was crushed, admittedly, but also like, what was I to expect? I mean, come on. I really thought I was going to get that. No.
I couldn't see myself as a police officer, but I've definitely flirted with the idea of being some kind of detective because I like investigating. I like digging into trying to understand things. Yeah. Like given how I go into digging my analytics sometimes, like I wonder who this person was that was reading my blog or like looking at this social media post or like start kind of getting into that mind.
Think about that. Think about starting your own private eye. Like, not make it like a major #1 job, but like, hey, is there like, did you lose your dog? Did you lose like, do you need like a fact-finding mission on like?
I think this is one of those things where it's fun when I do it for myself, but I would probably detest it if I was doing it for other people. That's how I got when I was like in web development in the early days. Like I enjoyed web development when I was developing websites for myself and I could plan everything myself. But when I had clients that I had to deal with directly that had their own ideas about things and like having to build for their specifications, like so boring. You know.
Well, that's why you start every session with your client off with, I'll find out everything, but you may not like what I find. And they're like, I'm just looking for my car that got stolen. Yeah, but you may not like what I found.
And remember, that's the Chicago way.
What does that even mean? It means it's the Chicago way.
It means what it means.
People, it can mean whatever you want it to mean, guys. Whatever you want to be. I was also going to be like, I was reminded also, this wasn't like a worst interview experience, but it was an awkward interview experience. It was and I got the job, which is why I would say it wasn't my worst interview experience because I got the job. But it was awkward because I was 17 at the time. And it was like this couple, or it was just the guy, I can't remember, but this couple owned a farm on the south coast of Western Australia, and they were looking for someone who could be their tour guide for, like, they had a miniature museum on their property, and they wanted someone who could be a tour guide during the day while the museum was open, and also help them with cataloging all of their museum artifacts. They wanted someone to build a database out for that. And so at least the guy came up to my house where I was living, which was not nowhere near close. Like, I guess he was in town. And so, like, I remember my mum being there at the interview as well. And because, I guess because I was a minor, so, I had, she had to give permission for me to be able to do this stuff, I guess. And I did end up getting offered the job. But I only it was meant to be a 6-week job. I lasted 3 weeks because this is this is awkward. But being undiagnosed autistic, I didn't know, like, there were certain things that were uncomfortable for me at the time that were probably related to the autism. But I had to live in a caravan, which is like an RV. And so if I needed to use the bathroom or shower, there was like a block next to the museum that I could use, or I could go into the house where the couple lived. And I was just not comfortable doing that kind of thing in either of those settings. And it was really, like, it was the summer, so it was, good time of year for sweating. So I remember, like, after, I guess, probably a couple of weeks, where I can't remember which one of them came up to me and said that, like, they were getting complaints about my smell.
Oh no.
Yeah, and
As a
it's like
17-year-old.
I know.
Ooh.
And it was so awkward and uncomfortable. I was like, I remember after getting that kind of feedback, I was like crying in the small caravan that I was staying in. I was like, I want to go home. So I ended up quitting because I was like, this is too much for me. Yeah, so you know, it's I shower better now, although since the pandemic I do not shower every day because I don't have to go out and see people every day. Like, who cares?
I don't shower either. I'm not a fan of it. Have I said this before? I don't
remember.
enjoy the act of showering. I enjoy.
Is there something specific?
It's just it seems like just a waste of time. It sounds really gross of me to say, but I get so annoyed with like, all right, I got to do this and I got to do that. Like, I've got all these things on my schedule to do and to accomplish. Or conversely, I just want to watch TV. Like, showering, taking the time to shower is the same amount of time it would take for me to watch another episode of whatever it is that I'm watching. And so it just seems like, doggone it, why can't I just walk through a machine like an ionizer and get the same refreshed,
like in the Jetsons?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just want to walk through a thing that burns off that layer of skin, all of the smell, all of the dead cells, and I'm clean and refreshed. And it has that same exact feeling of getting out of the shower. You just feel like $1,000,000. I like the feeling of being showered.
Fresh, yeah.
I just don't enjoy the act of showering. It's such a burden.
This is actually something that's pretty common in autistic individuals. I know it's something that both of my kids have kind of struggled with over the years. My son has, only recently decided to have a more frequent shower schedule than he was previously, which is amazing that he decided to do that on his own. With my daughter, I discovered that part of the reason that she doesn't like showering is that she can't stand the feel of water on her skin in any context, right? And so it's that like sensory overwhelm.
Even like washing your hands after using the bathroom?
Probably. I mean, she still
Remind
does,
me to
but
never
like
take your daughter's hand.
No, I mean, she still does, but like it still makes her feel uncomfortable.
Oh, okay.
Like I had to, one of our like family household chores is the dishwasher duties, and previously it was everyone had to load their own dishes into the dishwasher, but I prefer for the dishes to be rinsed first if they've got like food on it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and my daughter didn't like to even do that, rinsing the dishes. So we ended up switching so that she unloads all of the dishes from the dishwasher that she would have that I would have done, and I rinse her dishes and load them into the dishwasher instead because of this particular issue that she has with.
But the irony is that she's a really great swimmer.
No.
I thought that was going to land better than it did.
If I no, she hates water. Let's see, we've got some more comments.
Next question.
No, it's like comments.
Next comment.
I think my dad left this comment a while ago about the technique that he was talking about. The technique was in a body language book many years ago. He was doing some educational study to help understand student behaviors.
Sorry, what's that? I forgot.
With the boundary kind of crossing.
Oh, right, with the cup. Yes.
Yeah. Daniel says, if you want to mess with a prospective employer's mind, go, I thought we'd switch things up and I'll interview you instead. Except, interviewers do actually like being asked lots of questions about themselves. And that's one of the reasons that I got through so many rounds in a job. I didn't ultimately did not land the job. I got to the final round, didn't get it, but I made it through so many rounds because I kept asking great questions and engaging in conversation. And yeah.
But also, like, asking questions during an interview is less about showing an interest in your employer and more about
building rapport.
What?
Building rapport.
Yes, but it's less about like finding things out about your employer and more about like building that relationship and showing an initiative to like they have all these questions to make sure that you are the right candidate for them, but conversely you need to make sure that the employer is the right fit for you. Yeah. And if you don't ask any questions during the interview and you get hired and you show up and you go, oh, this is not the job that I thought it was, why didn't you ask anything during the interview?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
My dad said, I don't quite understand this. My worst interview mistake, naively,
I think. Yeah.
Sounds like he started a sentence and then hit return.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he finished that question or sentence. All right, we don't have any other questions lined up. Oh, wait. I know my dad's comment has continued now. It's showing up on YouTube. And wait, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
It comes up on YouTube first, and then I have to wait for it to restream. Naively, I artistically answered a trick question. The question was, tell us about your employer. I answered truthfully, not with wisdom. They wanted more political finesse.
Yeah.
I
feel you there.
This is the problem with, well, I don't want to say problem, but this is one of the traits of being autistic is we're just naturally really honest and expect that other people want us to be 100% honest and not like beat around the bush in some cases or talk about things in a more polite way.
But also, like, it's a good vetting question of like, hey, tell us about your former employer. Well, that piece of shit, let me tell you that. Now they're less inclined to hire you because when you sever ties with them or when they sever ties with you, what are you going to say about them?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's tricky sometimes though, because maybe there are circumstances that have been tricky for you. Anyway, shall we dig out some cards?
Oh yeah,
let's do it.
Dig out some cards. Shall we go back to the moments deck? I can't
do more surface level questions. We've done a lot of like intimacy and like really deep stuff.
I think that the cards and conversation one had more different range of things. All right.
Let's keep it light and airy for a little bit.
Light and airy for a little bit. All right, let's see if I've got a...
My favorite dinosaur is a Velociraptor.
Okay, this is... I mean, you can interpret this as a light and airy or a deep question, however you like. If you ruled the world, what would you do first? Imagine you are Elon Musk.
If I ruled the world, what would I do first?
First thing.
What about you guys? I'm still thinking of it.
I
don't know. Redistribute the wealth.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much it took me a long time to come to terms with this because socialism is such a dirty word. But like, there's a lot of like I have a lot of socialistic tendencies. Like, I believe in um capitalism. There's a lot of like really good stuff that comes from capitalism, like competition and innovation. And I don't have a problem with individual wealth per se, but corporate wealth, Apple, I love Apple. I fucking love Apple, but they have something like $3 to $4 trillion in cash in the bank, like in cash. Um, that's a lot. Like that's a lot. There's a lot of like good that could be done with that. Like I'm not going to say we could solve um, homelessness. I'm not saying that we could solve a whole bunch of world problems, but there's a lot that we could circumvent.
Mhm.
Can you imagine, like, if it was possible to redistribute the wealth so that everyone was at equal footing, like, and start from scratch, right?
But society would never allow
And
that. But
and then
Yeah.
I know, but and then like rebuild and change and see like how people decide to use, their newfound, everyone has the same amount of money, wealth, and then adjust to see. It would be an interesting experiment to see if there's still like systemic issues that impacts how
of course
people.
there would be, because it's
Yeah.
not about having money or not having money. It's about status.
Mm.
It's about power. It's about the class system. That's how we define ourselves in a modern day class system, is how much money do you have in the bank? What kind of a car do you drive? Tell us about your house. Where in the world do you live? All of that stuff is all about status. And that's all it's ever been about. How much power do you have? What influence do you have? That's another big one, is influence. And in the world that we live in, that's all measured by money right now. So
Yeah.
nothing would change. It would just go back to the way that it was. People are shitty.
Very true.
And steal it all back. Yeah. Sharad, what would you do if you ruled the world? What do
I
you
don't.
think you can do?
I think if I could, if I ruled the world, I think maybe I'd want every international government not just to be transparent, but collaboration, where we weren't just country by country, region by region. Let's just say we were country Earth or whatever. So we all shared not resources per se, but information. And I think that will help eradicate a lot of things and a lot of mistrust between governments. Will open up communication to avoid any potential, I don't know, wars or skirmishes or anything at all like that. And this could also lead to, if people share information, this could lead to technology, healthcare being improved upon, working with saving the planet instead of destroying it for financial gain. So I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. If I think if everyone was brought to the table and we all were like, we'd all have the same quote unquote goal, I think it would work well. So that's what I would go for.
This is such a weird question because there's like, in my mind, no conceivable way that any one person could rule the entire world, and for there to not be any conflict with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
I would also
empire,
want to put in,
emperor of the world.
I would also want to put in like some checks and balances, like make people accountable. Sorry, not people, governments. Make governments accountable in a way that really works.
Yeah, because obviously, aside from, let's say, regular elections, which is good. I mean, to be fair, like, I mean, in recent history, impeachment doesn't seem to have the same thing anymore, does it?
Well, given that a certain president of a certain country was impeached twice and still got away with everything, and was voted back in because he wasn't properly impeached. Correct.
Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka?
Oh no, I thought you said Paul Hogan.
Paul Hogan. No one could impeach that. No one could impeach that boy. Yeah.
Oh, Paul
Hogan. A legend. Good old legend.
Love that guy.
My dad has a comment on the redistribution of wealth. The problem with forcing redistributing wealth takes away incentive to achieve for the majority of people. That is one of China's weaknesses.
Fair.
I hate this argument because there are so many people in the world that are happy to innovate with no anticipation or expectation of wealth. And I think that this is a problem with society itself that is taught us that money is the goal. If we can teach society that there are more valuable goals to work towards that are not monetary, then I do think that it is possible to have other incentives to innovate and work towards shared goals and responsibilities that are not monetary.
I think that both can be true. And let me use Back to the Future as an example. The original, do we all know the original ending to Back to the Future?
Would you care to remind us?
It did not end, in the script at least, it did not end with Marty McFly driving down Main Street trying to connect his car antenna rod to the clock tower right at the stroke of whatever time it was with the electricity bolt and that gives the 1.21 gigawatts to get back to the future.
1.21 gigawatts!
So the original script, the way that it was written, was that Doc Brown realized that he needed for lack of a better term, combustion power energy, enough energy contained in an H-bomb, a hydrogen bomb, to create that much energy to go into the car to send Marty McFly back to the future. So they went to a testing site, an H-bomb testing site. Marty McFly was going to drive the car underneath at 88 miles an hour as an H-bomb fell from a testing site onto the car.
Right, oh my God.
Fuel, whatever. Universal Pictures said, that is way too expensive. There's no way you can do that, film that with the budget that you have. You have to find a different way to do it. So their backs were against the wall because money. So they came up with a different ending that arguably, and I think objectively, was the much better option. It's a way better ending. It makes so much more sense. It keeps the story contained, and it didn't seem that wackadoo crazy, right? I mean, it's still wackadoo crazy, but
it was still tense. It was still tense.
Yeah. But instead of having to invent a new thing, they stayed with the information that they had, and they created something new and something better. And those restraints all came about because of budgetary restrictions, right? So I do think that in that argument, both things can be true. There are always going to be people who want to innovate, but sometimes people who are good at something are not going to be motivated to innovate. Sometimes the innovations that we need are not going to happen because the people who create them won't be motivated by goodwill.
I think the best example of that, I'd have to say, is like what is COVID-19. Isn't it? If you think about how innovative we've been, not just in terms of vaccines, but with technology, like look what we're doing now, the three of us. this wasn't really readily available like pre-COVID. Like, but when push comes to shove and our backs are against the wall, it's amazing what you can achieve.
Nobody heard of Zoom until
until COVID.
the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it existed because they didn't just create it for the pandemic, but it just became a lot more widely used as a result of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my dad says, China steals others' knowledge, makes things cheaper, but ends up not getting the quality from the workers because of the not being the monetary incentive, I guess is the argument. That's because I don't think it's just their working conditions are terrible. It's not just the fact that they don't pay them well. The working conditions are
There's so
terrible.
much that goes into it. It's such a complicated.
And China is still capitalistic. So my dad says, innovate, yes. Other incentives, yes. Control itself doesn't work. The motivation is taken away if there's no money. I don't know. I feel like I'm more motivated to do things when there isn't a monetary incentive, personally.
Which is fair, but that's not how everybody works.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that everyone should be fine with not having a monetary incentive. I'm just like, I think this is going back to what I was saying earlier about my, enjoying certain work when I'm doing it for myself, but when I'm getting paid to do it for other people, it's like, I'm bored now.
Well, I mean, it's very, very tricky, isn't it? Because obviously, depending on circumstance and everything, like if you look through history, from what I remember in school, after the initial First World War, doctors actually in Germany, doctors earn less than waiters. Waiters she earned on tips, and so I remember like my teacher, Mrs. Ludeman, awesome teacher. She'd always say like, apparently it would be like a running joke saying, so what does your son do? Oh, he's a doctor. Oh, okay. What about your son? Oh, he's a waiter. Oh, wonderful. Oh,
wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I go back to what I said earlier about like money being a representation of status, power, and influence. And I look at someone like an Elon Musk, just because he's on all of our minds currently. If power, influence, and what was the third thing that I just said? Totally forgot.
Influence.
Power, influence,
and status.
Status.
If those three things were not measured by money, would Elon Musk have ventured into the things that he did?
I mean, think about it. Like even in Trump's inauguration, you remember that there's a very famous picture of all the multi-billionaire donors like right next to him. So I mean, it goes to show that money and influence goes a long way.
Yeah.
The world that we live in.
Money and more about the things that money represents or that it gets you.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you two, but every time I've always interacted with, I mean, like we know rich people, but how many of us know like rich people? And every time I've been in a situation when in relation to business, and I've spoken to a very rich person, like I've spoken to the one I'm thinking of right at the top of my head. I won't say who exactly, but he used to own a Premier League football club, and like he's like a big deal. And when I was talking to him, even though it's a social situation, first thing on his mind was, all right, how am I going to make money? What's the turnover rate? What's this? What's that? And I was just like, fucking hell, dude. So it just doesn't turn off.
Yeah.
Doesn't turn off at all.
It sounds like such a mind-boggling state to live in, to be constantly concerned about wealth.
Yeah. It's none of our experiences, right?
Right.
Like it's never it's something that we all desire, I think, but
Yeah.
it's never been something that consumes our thoughts.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think you'll find many people who prefer less resources to more, right? So, yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
they break it down that way.
If wealthy people were fine with having less wealth, then they wouldn't be wealthy. But there are some that are philanthropists and donate to causes and things.
Like that's the thing. If you go by like some of the major philanthropists and what have you, I mean, but I always say it's like people that have FU money. They can afford to give away millions a year, and it's like what 0.5% of their income.
Yeah.
But it's still a lot of money. But I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Amounts that are incomprehensible to the majority of the world's population.
FYI, if there are any multi-billionaires watching the stream, if you would like to donate to 3 people,
we're wonderful. Fund our projects.
Yeah.
Okay, my dad has a couple.
On our projects, you get the endorsement of a straight white male.
Yeah.
He
got you, boo. He got you.
My dad says Christianity encourages sharing. The motivation is helping others. Socialism takes away God's influence. Why? Like, maybe God is the influence for socialism for some people. And then he also adds, St. Francis gave away his wealth and started begging for the poor. His motivation, perhaps something built into altruism. My dad was named after St. Francis, as is probably obvious since his name is Frank. Oh, which reminds me. Okay, so my dad will enjoy this. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the film The Singing Nun. You heard of this one?
Sounds familiar, but I couldn't.
It's from the 1960s. Anyway, there's a song in this film that you may have heard before, because I've heard it from when it was in The Simpsons. And
Simpsons did it.
The song is called Dominique, I think. But that's the name in that song was part of my dad's influence for naming me Dominica. I've never seen The Singing Nun before to get the context of the song, but I was talking about this with a friend on the weekend. I was like, I still haven't been able to get a hold of the film The Singing Nun. I haven't been able to find it. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure I've looked on it in the interlibrary loan system and stuff. But then I ended up I'm like, I guess I'll check again just in case I didn't look for it there. And it turns out there are multiple libraries that I could have gotten it from that way. So I finally requested it. So I'm finally going to see this movie from the 1960s that has a song that I was named after.
Okay, so speaking of finally seeing movies that we've been talking about, I finally watched Keeping the Faith.
Yes. Wait, can I ask how you watched it? Was it available on streaming? Did you get it that way?
I just rented it on through Apple TV. Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Loved it. Great movie. So fun.
Great.
It came out in what, 2000, I think?
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, good call.
It still had that like late 90s kind of feel to it. It's just really sweet. It's a really sweet movie. I thought it was going to be more comedic in nature. And granted, it's still a very funny movie. But it's a romantic film first, comedy second. It's not comedy first, romantic second.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now you have to go back to the rom-com stream and click through to the chapter where I was talking about it with spoilers. You can see what I was saying.
Yep.
The similarities between that film and my life.
Great movie. Loved it.
Yeah, it's such a good film.
It's also really interesting to see Edward Norton play a really sweet priest.
Yeah,
'Cause I
right.
don't think that's acting at its peak right there.
That's not his usual kind of character, you know. I mean, prior to
No.
that, it was what, Fight Club, American History X, Primal Fear. He was a lawyer in that, I think.
Something like that.
The People versus Larry Flint.
Oh,
Right?
I've still never seen that.
Primal Fear is probably my favorite one.
Which one?
Primal Fear.
That was his first film, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Or like
it was. Yeah, it was his first. Yeah. And like I remember reading somewhere that Richard Gere, he just said, like, he was like, "Who is this kid?" And he was just blown away, like, the first day on set. So pretty cool.
Credit where credit's due. He's a talented dude.
Edward Norton is one of my all-time top favorite actors. I think he's just got massive talent for the range of stuff that he can pull off. Though granted, I can see why he was not chosen to be the Incredible Hulk after that first one time.
He's just difficult to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like I think the version you saw of him in Birdman, the one with Michael Keaton, I think that was it was meant to be like, you know, a version of himself, though, wasn't it? And
I think so. Yeah, something like that. I think
Mm-hmm.
that was more of a PR stunt.
Yeah.
But you know, people still in the comic book communities, people still praise Ed Norton's portrayal of Bruce Banner, saying it's still kind of, I mean, I preferred it over Mark Ruffalo, but also Mark Ruffalo's delightful and charming. You know, I don't have anything against it, but I preferred Ed Norton.
Well, that's the thing, because obviously with Ruffalo, he was the MCU version in terms of, like, he was here quipping jokes, trying to be funny, awkward. Whereas
Technically, Edward Norton is MCU.
Yes, that one is still classified as part of the MCU. Yeah. And especially if you're looking back in, I don't know if you've seen the new Captain America film yet, but it is in the same context as Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk.
Yep. Sure is.
Because you got Liv Tyler in both of them.
Oh, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
So he just got recast.
Okay. Maybe then, wait, hang on. Like, that's the thing. If that's the case, I reckon this is like a Deadpool versus Wolverine variant kind of thing. So maybe just means we're in a different variant situation. So
I mean, if you want to make something into it, then yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but,
right.
I think it's more of a Terrence Howard, Don Cheadle situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Daniel says the first rule about Priest Club is you don't talk about Priest Club. That's right.
Yeah, fair.
Because if you're the kind of priest that Edward Norton was, you start wanting to give up your priesthood for a gal.
That's the best quote of the day. Best quote of the day.
We've got a few viewers who may not have tuned in before. Maybe, possibly.
Welcome.
If you're new to this show, feel free to drop us some personal, vulnerable questions for us to answer. We love answering personal questions. Or, you know, if you don't want something personal from us, gum.
If you contribute, I just might give you a stick of gum.
Oh, wow.
Be a good boy, you might put it in your mouth.
See, now this is reminding me of, I watched Serendipity last night, so I'm still watching a lot of rom-coms. And there's this scene in there where John Cusack has put some gum on the back of a bench, and then later on, Kate Beckinsale puts her fingers on the gum that he put on the back of the bench. So it's like, connections.
don't know if I've ever seen that movie. I want to say that I have, but what you just described is not even.
It's not like a really obvious event of the film. It was just like the gum,
like an
you
Easter
pull
egg
out.
within the film, kind of.
Yeah. So serendipity is they meet like by a serendipitous event. They both want to buy the same pair of black gloves in Bloomingdale's, and then they kind of argue about who's going to get them. And then they have this amazing evening together, and then they talk about kind of serendipity and fate, and they're like, if fate brings us back together, then I guess we'll see each other again. And then it's not until like 7 years later that they're still kind of, or like they've moved on with in the background.
Sorry. Yeah.
He's getting a drill in their tooth.
Yeah, sorry.
So like 7 years later, they've moved on with their lives. They've like somewhat forgotten about each other, and they're about to marry other people, but then they just have these sudden like fate kind of reminders of each other, and then they decide that I'm still thinking about this person, and events ensue to see if will they or won't they find each other again.
They won't.
I won't give spoilers if you haven't seen it.
Maybe I have. I don't know. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, I didn't remember all of the details. I definitely had seen it before. But yeah, I was curious to see because I do have those kinds of serendipitous events sometimes, and I'm just like, oh, that's interesting that kind of surprising thing, unexpectedness is just things kind of fell into place. So I was kind of curious to see if that one might have influenced me in some way in terms of the life that I wanted to have, the romantic kind of life that I wanted to have.
I guess you could say that movie gave your romantic life a bit of serendipity. We have a visitor.
Oh, that cat's so pouchy. Arrow.
Floof tail.
Oh, look at those toe beans. Oh. Where does Brazo sleep at night? Like in bed with you?
Mostly on my feet.
Oh.
Mostly.
So make it hard to roll over.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, aren't you worried you might like kill it? Like you roll over.
I'm a turner in bed. I need to sleep on my side, but I can't sleep on one side for the entire night. What are your sleeping habits?
In the past couple of years, I've started developing sleep apnea. So I got myself a CPAP machine, but it is so uncomfortable to wear. And everyone says, well, you have to do this, and you have to get that attachment, blah, blah, blah. But what no one ever stops to take into consideration is that everybody's different. I don't like feeling apparatus on my face while I'm trying to sleep. I just don't. And no manner of attachments or this, that, or whatever is going to fix it, because I just don't like the feeling. Do you want to get down? Oh, he's going to meow pretty soon because he wants down.
Oh, baby.
It's the most pathetic little meow.
Not right now. Now I'm on camera and I'm.
You gonna meow for me?
This.
He does this. It's so sad and so pathetic, and it makes us laugh so hard.
I don't know, he seems to be enjoying himself now.
Yeah, he's looking at the camera. He's like looking at the camera going, who is this beautiful thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he just winked at us. Oh.
No.
He just went.
Not too long ago, I have a video of him. Oh, he's trying to get up. Is he going to do it? Is You can do it.
Because he's not close to the camera now.
Anyway, we have a very large television screen in our living room, so he'll get up on platform right in front of the TV and then start batting at the birds that are like flying by on the TV, and it's cute.
Oh, that's cute. You just like, oh, look at you little dummy. Oh, oh, look at him. Look at that window.
All right, so I bring up my next couple of comments from my dad. All right, here we go. My dad says, back to communism. Oh, we're talking about yes, the originators got ideas from Christianity, but saw belief in God is the problem. If God is love, taking away love is the deeper issue.
Yeah, fair.
The qualifier is just might. I have been contributing for several episodes. No gum yet. Sorry, Mike. Appreciate your thoughts for calling this one.
Nice.
Well, Frank, send me your address and I'll mail you a stick of gum.
No, I think he's not interested in having the gum.
Promise is a promise.
It's cheaper to it's probably more expensive to pay for the postage than it is to pay for the stick of gum.
It's the principle of it.
So it's like how printing pennies costs 4 cents, but the value of a penny is 1 cent.
I know.
Blows my mind.
That's why I'm totally on board with the idea of just getting rid of pennies. That's fine. You can melt them down and turn them into something else. It's all good.
We need that for other stuff. We need that copper for other stuff.
Like you can use it for electrical wires and stuff, right? People steal the copper wires out of homes that are abandoned and or foreclosed.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
it's so valuable. Yeah.
You gonna meow for me? You gonna meow?
Nope. All right. Well, since we still have apparently 4 viewers, but nobody's asking us any questions, I will ask another question from this 7 of Spades card. Wait, do either of you want to pick a? Can you read that? I don't know. This might not be big enough.
He's meowing.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah, that's nice.
Hear it? So sad, pathetic.
Meow.
You go one more.
How about the first one?
We might have.
All right.
I think we had a question like this from one of Mike's friends in the past.
All right. Okay.
What was the question? Sorry, I was.
I'll pull up Daniel's comment first before I get into the question. Sad Cat Diary entry 437. The authorities are holding me against my will and displaying me to strangers. I fear food stores have run short, for the authority is nibbling my ear. Send help. I'm captive.
Oh, that's probably the best comment we've ever had. That's awesome.
Catnip, you're not of age yet, bud. You can't have catnip. It's legal first.
And then my dad says, sometimes sleeping with upper torso raised can keep the tongue from causing snoring. On gum issue, just stirring with a wooden invisible spoon. The first question on this card was, what makes you feel competitive? We had a question like that before, right?
I think so,
right? So, and I think we might have had a question like this before as well. Is it easier to give or receive help? Didn't we have one of the early streams we had something like that?
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I can try this one. Think back to a recent disagreement. What do you agree with from the other person's point of view? Do you have any examples that you can think of from recent disagreements?
Yeah, so I've got one. This actually happened actually quite recently. I admit that well, prior to me falling ill with Guillain-Barré syndrome, I was very headstrong. I was very independent. One thing I fully admit now is that now I can't say no. I always want to please, and this can be a detriment because obviously, let's say uh, if I'm very tired, if I have something on, or even worse, like what happened. I like we had people coming to the office asking for donations to charity, and I couldn't say no, and I ended up giving them $60 cash just to like get them out of out of the office because I felt so bad. But yeah, I mean, everyone always tells me, "Oh, you're so soft. You're so soft." I'm like, I'm not. Boo, boo, boo.
Yeah.
But so there's definitely disagreements there. But unfortunately, I have to admit culpability. Like when they're right, they're right. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So yeah, that's definitely been on the more recent things for me anyway.
You agree that with the other people that you are soft.
I'm too soft. Too soft for sure.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Dominica?
Trying to think. I did have a disagreement with someone recently that I ended up cutting him out of my life. And I don't know that I'm ready at the point where agreeing with anything that he said. I'm trying to.
The most recent disagreement.
Yeah. So I think the one that comes to mind, and I feel like I've talked about this more at length or before, but with the disagreement that I had with Lee, my Malaysian ex, in terms of what is the context for this particular thing? In terms of what I agree with him now is like I can see more of his perspective of how he came to the conclusion that he came to. Even though it wasn't my intention to make him feel hurt and stuff, I was able to realize that I was able to see his perspective on how he came to the conclusion that he did. But on top of that, the big thing was seeing my defensiveness and excuses that I was giving and explanations, and that was not stuff that he wanted. And that's kind of led to me doing more exploration in terms of what is triggering that defensiveness. So, because I don't want to get into that headspace where I feel like I need to defend myself instead of listening to another person's perspective before kind of sharing my own. So that's, I guess, the thing for me.
The thing for me that's coming to mind is with the television show that I produce, we just do short form improv, and I try to select improv games that illustrate this skill or that technique or have this kind of a moment and stuff like that. And so recently I put together a set list for our first show. And what came back was, hey, we don't want to do this game because blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. And it hurt because I both knew that they were right, but it also it wasn't in line with what I wanted for the show. And it sucks because you have to kind of swallow your pride a little bit and say, hey, everyone is contributing ideas because they want the best for whatever this thing can be. And sometimes that's not in line with what I have in mind. So I don't know. That's always been a hard pill for me to swallow.
Yeah,
Just
that's
my idea.
I feel you.
It's interesting you should bring that up, because I feel like that's kind of one of the things that I wrote about in that blog post I was talking about earlier with the attachment stuff, in terms of I feel like that's one of the things that can trigger defensiveness, is when somebody says something that is absolutely 100% right, but you don't want to be wrong.
Yes.
You don't want to be the bad guy. You don't want to have to change your mind. God, that is so hard to admit that that you're wrong.
And sometimes it's not even just being wrong. Sometimes it's about letting somebody else have the better idea.
Yeah.
Which means you do need to concede.
Yeah.
That's so strong.
And obviously, like, admitting you're wrong in any aspect is probably the hardest pill to swallow, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so hard.
Human nature.
Yeah, challenging things to get through in life. Was this funny? We have I think, was it an Elton John song that came up recently that sorry is the hardest thing to say? It's like that came up in my on my YouTube music, I think earlier today or yesterday. And I was like, oh man, yeah. And I was like, I'm like, is this some kind of message that I should be hearing right now about, you know, people wanting to apologize and not feeling able to, because sorry is so hard to say. Admitting fault is so hard to say. I feel like this is. Okay, here's a question that I'll frame in context with my experience. So I do occasionally, I think I've talked about this a little bit on the stream before, but I don't think I've used it to phrase a question to you two. But I occasionally will hear music and they'll trigger a thought and make me wonder, is this song like a message from the universe, or is it a song that is a message from somebody else that's trying to send me a message through like long distance or whatever? And have you ever had those kinds of experience? I have a follow-up question to this afterwards, but have you guys ever had that kind of experience where a song has triggered you into thinking this is a message from externally, not just
Michael
a random?
Jackson's "Man in the Mirror."
You want to give more detail about the?
Well, it should be self-explanatory, but if you're not familiar with the song, the lyrics go something along the lines of, "I'm staring at the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to make a change. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change."
Oh
man,
yeah.
It's so much like my blog post as well.
That was one of the songs that I grew up on, and then like one day you're in high school and the song comes on and it hits you in a way that like your emotional intelligence has matured enough that you can actually realize, oh, he's actually kind of talking about me. And like it hit me and I was like, what? And it was the same, I think it was around the same time that I watched Dead Poet Society for the first time.
Nice.
And so kind of like all these similar but tangential messages kind of started hitting me all at the same time. And I'm like, what is happening? Do I need to actively be a better person?
Yes. The answer is yes. Always. You can always be doing things to be a better person. What about you, Sharad? Have you ever had like a song that has struck you that way?
Sort of. Like, it's really weird because I remember it almost exactly what happened. I was, I want to say I was in Hull in the north of England, and it was for a rarity. It was a bright sunny day, and we don't have those very often. And
that sounds like a song.
yeah, and For some reason, do you guys remember this song? It was featured in Austin Powers' Burt Bacharach, When Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I remember I was just walking down the high street, and for no apparent reason, that just popped into my head. Everything slowed down, and I just started walking with a pep in my step. And you see little things like you see like birds chirping, and you'll start finger gunning all the random people. It just felt good. So yeah, for no apparent reason.
Nice.
Mm.
Yeah.
I had a very similar experience when I was late to meet a friend. This is years ago. I was on my way to go meet a friend for a thing, and I don't even remember what the thing was. So I was running through the streets of Midtown New York, trying to meet up with her because I knew that I was late, so I was trying to hurry up. And I had my earphones in, like the ones with the wires, right? And so I'm like running, trying to get there as fast as I can. And then all of a sudden, the theme to Superman comes on. Dun,
Nice.
dun, dun, dun. And I am just booking it through the streets of New York. And like I felt like $1,000,000. Like nothing ever hit me like that before. I felt
That's
like I
awesome.
was Superman in that moment.
That's awesome.
Watch out, citizens! I'm running.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Daniel's got a comment for this conversation here. It was a sign that you needed to be a Robin Williams impersonator that sings Michael Jackson tunes.
Yes. And all of a sudden, I was like, "Hi, I'm Michael Jackson." Yes. And then I had 12 kids over to my ranch, and I said, "Who would you like to try some ranch with carrots? Carrots with ranch. Quite delicious."
All
That's
right, so
hilarious.
I did mention I was going to have a follow-up question to this. So my follow-up question, and this is based on experience that I had a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. Okay, and
With a monkey named Bubbles. Yes, Bubbles. Ooh, I like to blow bubbles. Ooh, yes, blowing bubbles. Ooh, that's something that Michael Jackson says to himself all the time. Blowing bubbles.
That's funny.
Yes. Okay. Question. No. Comment for experience first. So there was a night a couple of weekends ago where it was like 3 weekends ago now, I think. I was trying to go to sleep, and then my heart just started palpitating with anxiety out of nowhere. I'm like, I'm not feeling anything I'm not feeling anxious about anything right now. But it was a very specific feeling of anxiety. It was it felt like I was experiencing anxiety, the kind of anxiety that I would feel if I was drafting a message to send someone that I was worried about how they were going to receive it. Like very, very specific type of anxiety, right? And I'm like, but I'm not currently drafting any kind of message to anyone that I'm worried about how they're going to receive. I was in the midst of drafting a blog post, but I wasn't worried about how anyone was going to receive that. So it felt like it was somebody else's energy being transmitted to me from somewhere else in the world. Very, unusual. I don't think a lot of people have these kinds of experiences. One of my autistic things is that I can absorb other people's emotions through like osmosis. Usually, yeah, because I'm an empath, but it usually happens when I'm in their presence, right? And so for it to happen when I'm not in somebody's presence, I'm like, this is really odd right now. But like I could tell this is not my feeling. I'm feeling somebody else's feeling right now. I don't know. I mean, there's a limited number of people that could maybe send me that kind of feeling. But I'd rather not speculate in too much detail about that. But so I'm just curious, have you guys ever had like that kind of experience where you feel like you're feeling somebody else's emotions in your body?
I don't think so. I feel like I've always been a social chameleon. So I adapt to my social surroundings, but I also will kind of like take on the emotions of the group or of the individual that I'm with, maybe to a point. But I don't think it's more of a feeling of sympathy rather than you've transferred your emotional energy to me.
Yeah, I think going on the sympathy thing, it's like obviously I'm sure you two are very experienced with secondhand embarrassment. Something
Oh
embarrassing
yeah.
happens to
Oh
someone.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
my
So
daughter,
that's the obvious one.
my daughter experiences that, and both my son a little bit as well. Experience it so bad, especially my daughter, that even if they're watching a movie, there's like nobody real is having this embarrassing experience, but my daughter will run out of the room from secondhand embarrassment watching a movie where somebody is doing something embarrassing. She just can't watch it.
We've all
Yeah.
been there.
So she's a big fan of The Office
She does not watch The
and
Office.
swimming.
But when I tried to watch a Goofy movie with her, there was like a really awkward moment in that she was like, I managed to convince her to stick around and watch the rest of the film with me, but for a bit. But the really obvious one, or the memory that sticks in my or the movie that sticks in my memory the most for this experience was the movie Soul, the Pixar film Soul, that was released on Disney Plus and not in the theaters. I can't even remember the specific scene that it was, but there was a scene that she's like, I'm out. I can't. This is too much for me. Just ran out of the room. So yeah, secondhand embarrassment it can be really intense for
Very
some
real.
people. Yeah,
Very real.
absolutely. Yeah, but man, it's such an interesting thing to experience. I feel like this is one of the reasons why I felt like I might have fallen in love with my ex-husband when I did, because I was osmosising his affection towards me into me that made me feel like I loved him back. Like but it makes it hard for me to then be able to trust if my feelings for somebody are actually real, or if what I'm feeling is actually the other person's feelings for me.
Fair enough.
It's really complicated, I feel like. Let's see. Daniel's got a comment here. It was me.
Daniel?
I was coming up with a thesis. Oh, the person writing the message. I was coming up with a thesis for a research paper on cute Australian women that wear tiny wings and halos.
Oh, you smooth bugger! You smooth bugger!
You're drafting a message for me, Daniel, about all that stuff. I have an email address associated with my YouTube now. If anyone does want to send me a message privately.
Oh, this is how it starts, Dominica. This is how it starts.
No, I created this new email address.
If it links to your OnlyFans, I'm gonna hang myself, bro.
We've discussed this. That's not a thing I'm going to be doing.
Not yet.
No, not at all.
No.
No, I created this email address because I was getting I got a couple of messages on LinkedIn from recruiters supposedly who were looking to hire people for contract roles, but they just seemed a little bit sus to me, and I didn't feel comfortable giving them my main email address that I use for almost everything. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just create a new email address that I can use for those kinds of situations. And I'm like, and the email address is my username, Dominica Creates, which I'd not used that for an email account yet. So dominicacreates@gmail.com. Like, then I can publish that on my YouTube if people want to contact me, because apparently there are people that don't have social media. And remember that one guy who was wanted to be a guest, like just randomly wanted to be a guest.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
And it was so weird. And he had no way of contacting me because he had no other social media. So I'm like, I'm gonna put my email up there. If people do want to contact me in a private way, they can contact me at that new email address that I created for these kinds of things. All right, Zissou has been lurking.
Hey, buddy. Welcome aboard.
Thank you for joining. There we go. All right, my dad has a comment about the stuff that we're talking about as well. So my dad says, some say we have a guardian angel. Have you ever had a feeling protected moment that kept you safe? Example, once at a stoplight, I hesitated starting on green and a semi ran the red light at speed. That's amazing.
That's terrifying. Yes and no. This one's tricky because for me, I was on the opposite side of this. I can tell you exactly where this was. We were in Amsterdam, Holland, when I was 15, and it was for the Model United Nations, for like this school thing, international school thing. And we were on the underground, and there was a high-speed train coming. And for some reason, I was just like kind of like on my periphery. I could see my teacher just maybe a couple of inches towards, like past me. And for no warning at all, I just extended my hand out and just pushed her back. And as the train went past, it just clipped her nose.
Wow.
Like that. Yeah, and I remember like, everyone just went, "What the?" And she just looked at me and she's like, "Oh my God, thank you." And I was like, "Yeah." And we just continued on with our day. Because if I honestly, because it was quite a bit. If I hadn't do that, she would have been clipped.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I don't know that I've had any specific things like that that I can think of. I might have, but I can't. Nothing comes to mind from memories. But it is making me think of, I can't remember if I've talked about this on the stream or not. I feel like I have, but it's making me think of, when Lee and I were last together, one of the things that I really appreciated and thought was just adorable was when we were crossing the street and, there was, the first time we were kind of crossing the street together, I just like ran across the street. Like the car that's right there, it's parked. Didn't see, in my mind, didn't see anyone coming the other direction. So I was like, I'm going to cross the street. And Lee freaked the fuck out because he saw a car coming in the other direction. He was worried that I was going to get hit. So every time we crossed the street afterwards, he made sure that he held on to me to make sure that I did not cross the street while it wasn't safe. And it was just like the sweetest thing. And I felt so protected by him. And I'd never felt like that protected by somebody before. And I kept commenting on it. So I was like, this is so adorable. And I don't know that he ever really understood how much that meant to me.
Sure.
It was such an adorable thing. Because, I think one of the things that I've read, right, is that guys will get really protective of you when they really care about you. So it was one of those things that was like felt like one of those signs that he really cared about me. Yeah. So don't have it anymore though. But it was a sweet kind of thing.
You have the memories.
I love the memories. So Zissou says that Serendipity used to be one of their favorite films, and
why used to be?
Need a rewatch. Might not like it as much now that life has jaded Zissou a bit.
Well, maybe a bit of a rewatch is exactly what you need to reinvigorate your life. Who knows?
Well, here's the thing. So Kate Beckinsale's character in that film, she has grown to be a little bit jaded, but then she goes back to believing in the serendipitous kind of stuff afterwards. So yeah, maybe you need to watch the film again just to bring some of that magic back into your life. Here's an interesting thing that's so kind of serendipitous in a way. So after I watched the film, I read the back cover, and one of the films that they listed that Kate Beckinsale was known for was Broke Down Palace. Now, if you're not familiar with this film,
no.
Broke Down Palace is a film.
Broke Down Palace. I love that movie.
What?
I love that movie, Broke Down Palace.
I was just like, the next other movie. Okay, if you're not familiar with the film, it's about two women who go to Thailand as tourists, and they get duped and into carrying drugs illegally, and they get caught and end up in a Thai prison. And the interesting, like, the reason I was thinking about this film recently, prior to seeing it on the back, seeing it listed on the back cover of Serendipity, was I was talking about this film to a friend just this past weekend, because we watched the Bridget Jones 1 and 2, and in the second film, the same thing happens to Bridget Jones. She gets arrested.
Goes to a Thai prison.
She gets arrested for smuggling drugs and goes to a Thai prison. And so I just mentioned this film to my friend, and then like I couldn't remember the name of the film, and I was like, it's got these two women characters, and I'm like, I don't remember who they are. It's like, but I ended up looking it up and sending it to her. So it was like really kind of, I don't know, it felt serendipitous for me to see it listed on the back cover when I'd just been talking about it. So I probably need to rewatch that film too. Yeah. See, Daniel also says Broke Down Palace is a good film. Kate Beckinsale and Claire Danes. Exactly. It is a really good film.
I've had like the biggest crush on Claire Danes ever since Romeo and Juliet. Everything she's in, I'm in.
For me, it was Broke Down Palace. That was the movie that made me fall in love with her.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and Kate Beckinsale. I mean, come on. How can you not?
Yeah.
Just adorable.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember when Underworld came out, I was just like,
I don't think I've seen Underworld.
I couldn't wrap my brain around Underworld. There was something about it. There was that, like...
It's a vampire film?
Yeah, vampire werewolf film, yeah.
It's a really great movie with Scott Speedman. I don't know. There was something about the filmmaking, because it had that early 2000s kind of. It's a cheaply made film, but they tried to make it not look cheap through like lighting effects and like quick camera movements and stuff like that. So they did all these tricks to like make it look bigger and more impressive than what it is, but it's still.
And it worked.
Say what?
And it worked.
Okay.
You don't think so? No?
No. Also, I really don't like Scott Speedman as an actor.
What's your beef? I mean, to be fair, like I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else.
He was in a Mormon missionary movie about these two missionary companions that like develop feelings for each other, which is verboten.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it like, but there was also like a kidnapping element to it, where like I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen it, but it was one of the pioneers of gay cinema, that like widespread gay cinema. It wasn't like an underground, like pass the VHS to your friend in a trench coat kind of thing.
Them's the days.
We all remember.
Yeah, but yeah, it was one of the pioneers of like gay cinema. Also, it wasn't a great movie.
Oh. Well, so I was going to say, people can have different opinions about movies. Sharad, you can have enjoyed it and thought it was done well, and Mike.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
But
I
the
enjoyed it.
special effects
I
aspect.
just don't think it was a good movie.
Oh. Yes, you can enjoy
Mhm.
bad movies. That's fair.
Sorry, I love you.
That's why. I just want to talk to you again. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Daniel says that he is not,
Ooh.
but he's close enough to Kate Beckinsale to let me like.
I feel you on that one, Daniel. Yeah, I agree.
My favorite werewolf film is
Ooh.
an American
Favorite.
Werewolf in
Yeah.
Paris.
Yeah.
Paris, not
Yeah.
London?
Not London. Not London.
The Paris one. Yep, Paris.
I mean, American Werewolf in London is just.
I think I still haven't seen that one. American Werewolf in Paris I saw in the movie theaters with one of my best friends at the time. And so yeah, maybe I just have like fond memories. And I have it on DVD as well. It's been a very long time since I've seen it, but yeah, that's my
Did you ever
favorite
see
werewolf
Wolf
movie.
with Jack Nicholson?
I was about to say that's my favorite werewolf film.
I have not.
Yeah.
No. I guess
Oh
that would be
my
another
God,
one I
you
should
have
check
to
out.
watch It's yeah. So just look this up. It's 1994 Jack Nicholson. That's all you need to know.
Oh, there's my
And
pen. I was looking for it.
what's the name? Who was the love interest in that film? Michelle Pfeiffer. That's it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And James Spader. James Spader's in that film as well.
Oh,
He plays a
see,
great character. Yeah.
I'm in love with James Spader.
Oh, perfect.
You sold me now. I need to see it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's honestly, it still holds up. I haven't seen it in a few years, but it holds up more so now than ever. I'd say.
Okay, I will see if I can find a free way to watch it.
Yeah, it's called Wolf from '94. So
It's called Wolf.
from
and it was made in
1994.
1994.
Yeah.
Wait, what? It was released in 1994. It's
Yes.
94 in the.
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
thought. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you made it more confusing after.
Well, the way that
I'm
Sharad
sorry.
said it,
I'm sorry.
he said it's called Wolf from '94.
All right. Sorry. My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Zisu says Underworld didn't seem cheap back then, but it hasn't aged well. Some movies have not.
There's a number of those films. Let the right one in. There's a number of those films, like both Punisher movies, the Thomas Jane, as well as Ray Stevenson. It became a really popular way to make films in the early 2000s. Daredevil with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
There was just, it's hard for me to actually succinctly describe what it is about these films that just seems cheap, but they all had that hard rock soundtrack. They all had really quick, fast edit. Smoking Aces, I think, was another one.
Yeah.
What was the one that was like Smoking Aces, but it was with I can't think of his name. Shoot, doesn't matter. Anyway, there's a whole smattering of those style of movies in the early 2000s that I look back on it. And I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah, I rewatched that Ben Affleck Daredevil film after, not that long ago, like a couple of years ago now, but after I watched all of Charlie Cox's Daredevil, and having also read maybe 20 years of Daredevil comics back to back, right? And rewatching that Ben Affleck Daredevil film after all of that, I was like, I couldn't stomach it. I'm like, no, oh my God, no wonder people ragged on this film because this is not the Daredevil from the comics. This
Michael
is such
Duncan
a different.
Clark was an awesome Kingpin.
Yeah, he was good.
And I think that was the only redeeming thing.
Well, I mean, I kind of like really enjoyed Colin Farrell that played Bullseye because he was hamming it up so much, and he was
it
like,
was the hamminess that I didn't
Bullseye.
like.
And I was like, this is cinema. Okay, you got me.
I didn't care for it. Yeah.
I had a massive crush on Colin Farrell probably back then. So, you know, I watched all of his films around that time. Or in like the early 2000s, like 2004, I was like, I went on a Colin Farrell movie kick. I remember specifically because it was when I was staying at my grandma's place in Wyoming, and I got I didn't subscribe to Netflix. I subscribed to Blockbuster by mail, and that was how I borrowed a ton of Colin Farrell films, and Johnny Depp films as well. Like it was like that's my era. No, but the thing that struck me the most about the Ben Affleck Daredevil was like he did not have any qualms about killing people. I'm like Daredevil doesn't kill people.
Mm-hmm.
Like so that was my biggest issue after having discovered and read a whole like 20 years worth of Daredevil comics. Genuinely, like I went on a massive kick of Daredevil stuff after watching the Charlie Cox series. Either of you watching the new Born Again series yet?
Not yet.
I've seen episode 1, have not seen 2 or 3 yet.
Okay. I won't give any spoilers. I was curious. I have.
But is it good so far?
I'm enjoying it so far. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's. Mike's like not sure yet.
I'm not sure yet.
I have the context because I've read 20 years. More than 20 years of Daredevil comics now, so like I know kind of where the stuff is coming from. All right, back to the comments here. So I pulled this up briefly, but then I put it down. But have you watched Let the Right One In?
Yes.
I have to look it up. I don't remember.
I've seen both versions, and I think they're fantastic. It's what happens if, the idea is what happens if you have a little girl who makes friends with a little girl vampire.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's not like all light and it's actually quite dark because like how that turn out. And obviously the original, I want to say it's a Swedish film. I can't remember off the top of my head. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And if you two get a chance, I'm sure you should be able to find, like you should be able to find a decent stream of it somewhere. And please watch it; it's fantastic.
I think it's on Shudder.
Yeah, it's called Let the Right One In. It is Swedish. Yeah, Let the Right One In.
No,
I go to my library first. What can I check out for the library? Right now, my library hold queue is full. I have to go and collect some more things before I can request anything else. I'm also like, I'm reading Elliot Page's memoir right now, and his like writing about his experiences with different films is making me want to check out these films. Some I've seen before, and some I haven't. But I was like, okay, requesting that now. So I have so many things that I need to watch at the moment. Speaking of films, Daniel also has. As soon as I saw this, James Spader, want to hang out and watch Secretary acting out?
Yes, I do.
You're sorry.
Yes,
I'll read the whole acting out. Maggie Gyllenhaal's parts optional. I love that film. And
it's a good film.
It's definitely a film that makes me super horny. Sorry, I'm just.
Well, you need to catch your breath. While we're talking James Spader, make you horny movies, has anyone watched Crash? Not the was it 2003 film that won Best Picture at the Oscars. There's another
No.
film from the 90s, late 90s, I believe, called Crash, starring James Spader.
Can you
And
please tell us why it was so famous, Mike?
why it was what?
Why it became so infamous?
Are you familiar with it?
I am very familiar with it, yeah.
I'm not.
96. It's from 1996 with James Spader and Holly Hunter. Rated NC-17. The synopsis is a car crash victim suddenly finds himself turned on by car accidents and becomes involved with an underground subculture of like-minded souls.
Wow. Wow.
So
Yeah.
sexually turned on by car crashes.
Wow. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
I believe it was. I just threw my phone across the room. I believe it was written and directed by David Cronenberg.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I'll see if I can look it up. I have a funny James Spader experience. So the first time I went to see Janine Garofalo perform stand-up comedy, I was in the front row of the audience, and to her eyes, I looked like super young. She probably thought I was in like my teens or 20s. I was a decade older than she thought I was. And then I say this because like she was talking about James Spader in her set. And then she like pointed me out. It's like, you probably have no idea who I'm talking about. And I was like, I know who he is. I love James Spader. But it was so funny that I was like, oh my God, she thinks that I'm so much younger than I am.
She thinks you're a baby.
She thought I was a baby. So that was fun. Do I want to hang out with Daniel and watch Secretary? I don't know. I don't know that I know you well enough yet, Daniel, to accept an invitation like that. But it's funny that movie, The Secretary, should come up in conversation because I was also talking about that film on the weekend. Or maybe 2 weekends ago when I had a friend over. And I was like having her like look through all of my DVD collection. It's like, which ones of these were like top of mind for you from your like youth and stuff? Which are your favorites and things? And I was like going through and talking about which movies that I don't own and should still like, I feel like I should get. And The Secretary was one of them. I was like, I should own a copy of The Secretary. Why do I not have that film? Because I feel like that's one that might like get if we have more censorship in the country about various topics. I feel like that might be one that would get the snip, the cut, like get rid of that one.
So what you're saying is, let's stop bringing attention to it.
Maybe no. I mean, I need to buy a copy of it before it gets wiped from people's consciousness. That is what I'm saying. Yeah. Zizou said that he needs to watch that one as well. Mm-hmm. I can't remember when it was. I remember showing it to my ex-husband. But that was I think that was the last time I watched it. So that was quite a while ago now because I've been divorced for almost 5 years. So it's been a while since I've seen it. My dad says that he grew up on Lon Chaney Jr.'s Werewolf.
That's cool. That's cool. That's very cool.
His transition back before they had all the sophisticated techniques still stays on my mind.
I mean, it's awesome, isn't it? Because I remember, like, obviously as a kid, I was already spoiled with special effects, makeup. But even then, when you go back and watch it, you're like, there's something really, really magical about that. So yeah, I can see why he thinks that.
That was one of the pioneers in. I mean, there are a few movies, a handful of movies over the years that have been pioneers in like special effects, but that was one of them because no one like. It's such a simple trick just to layer the film on top of itself that it transitions from this to that. But no one had ever really done that before.
Mhm.
And it was a really creepy effect.
Really cool, but very creepy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost makes me think, what do you think people actually thought about that when they actually saw it in the cinema? Were they just like,
I think people were grossed out by it. I do.
You think?
I think they were grossed out by it the same way that the werewolf transformation in both the Howling and
Howling.
American Werewolf in London. Because again, no one had seen anything like that before. They built these rigs to make the skin, well, like the fake,
pop out,
stretch and like mold and move. And you're like, hang on, like we're not watching an image transition to another image, transition to another image. We're actually seeing it grow. Like your face is like being reshaped.
Wow.
It like really grossed people out. By today's you're like, oh, all right, cool.
Pre-CGI, the techniques were very different.
Well, I mean, I always say that like practical over CGI any day of the week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's real.
Yeah. Well, I like.
Okay.
Oh no, I was going to talk about Jurassic Park. Their puppetry with all of the dinosaurs, because I don't think CGI was quite a thing yet.
Jurassic Park was it was Terminator 2 in 1992 or 1991. Was it 91? I think it was 91. And then Jurassic Park in 1993. Those two movies really solidified what you can do with CGI.
Yeah.
And the reason that the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park still look better than the dinosaurs from Jurassic World, I don't know if I've said this before. I feel like I have, but it's the edge of the outline. Like whatever details are on there, the human eye does not see crystal clear. The human eye sees things with a slight blur around the edges. And so with the older CGI, it just naturally had that blur in like places that were, blurry. Not like a super blur, but like it looked closer to how the human eye sees things than when you look at Jurassic World and you see those crystal clear images.
It's too clean.
It's too clean. And when they, Jurassic Park, when you mix it in like CGI that isn't up to today's standards, combined with practical puppetry, your brain can't differentiate what's real and what's manufactured. It just looks seamless.
Movie magic, people. Movie magic.
Anyone want to do the Morgan Freeman voiceover voice?
Oh God. And it was around that time he realized he'd be watching Secretary alone, picturing Maggie Gyllenhaal, an angel god with an Australian accent. It's good to imagine.
Daniel, I don't even know where you live at this point. Like, where,
what city do you live in?
Is it even feasible to meet in person? Like, my presumption is that you're not especially close to where I am anyway.
I don't even know if he's human. So.
Let's take bets. Where do we think Daniel lives? Daniel, before you comment, let's all cast a vote.
Maybe he won't tell us.
Yeah. Maybe he won't. I don't know.
I mean, he's given us enough comments to make me think that he's somewhere in the United States because he grew up with the MTV stuff, but I wouldn't know specifically where.
Yeah.
I definitely think he's US. I'm going to guess. I have 3 guesses. California, Florida, or like the middle of the United States, like Missouri, Iowa, somewhere through there, right?
I was thinking the same, yeah.
Those are my guesses.
You don't think he could be in New York?
Could be anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere, right? America.
I could not narrow it down further than somewhere in the United
Right.
States.
Motherfucker could be in Antarctica for all we know.
Hey, that'd be pretty sweet.
That'd be pretty rad.
Yeah.
I don't know the time zone of Antarctica, but that probably doesn't matter.
My money is on California. That's my money.
Well, if it was California, it would be more feasible if it was further than that. All right, my dad has. he's not going to be honest with us. He's a cyborg in outer Mongolia.
We'll take your word for it. Okay, fair enough.
This was why I joked before that he could have been Lee. It's like it doesn't tell us anything very specific about where he is. But so anyway, my dad says King Kong animated by Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, man.
Especially holding the nude girl in his hand, another one.
Yeah, man, that was a big one.
First film to ever have original film scoring by Max Schreiner.
Oh, wow.
Look at you with your movie trivia.
Yeah, look at you.
No wonder you had that Gotta Love Them Movies channel. That was a random Gotta Love Them Movies person that asked the question before. If anyone wants to watch those episodes that I was a guest on of Gotta Love Them Movies, I do have a link to them on my blog. On my blog.
Plug it.
If you go to my blog, dominicacreates.com, in the menu, hang on, let me describe it while
you're looking that up. Your dad mentioned Ray Harryhausen. I would also like to submit for a contender of special effects is Jason and the Argonauts.
I was literally about to say that. Yeah.
I mean,
literally about to say that.
The Cyclops looked awesome, but for me, it was the skeleton.
Talos. What about Talos? Like the giant guy? You know, with the swords, like the giant statue?
Oh.
Talos, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. He was the big one for me, yeah.
For me, it was the skeleton army. That's what really made me go, what is this?
Is going on, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one either.
Oh, you need to. It's so good. It's still holds
so many movies that I need to watch and
yes, you do.
Get through. And right now I'm just doing rewatching stuff at the moment and things that I remember for the most part that I haven't seen for a long time. All right, the page, if you want to find the links to my guest appearances on Gotta Love Them Movies with Mike, on my blog, dominicacreates.com. In the top menu of the page, there's a drop-down menu that says Connect. So drop down that menu and then click on check out other blogs/sites featuring me.
Oh.
And yeah, I have linked to the 3 episodes that I was a guest on.
Or you could make life easier on yourself. Go to YouTube and search Gotta Love Them Movies, Dominica May.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Or I can also link to this page on my blog in this video afterwards.
Oh, well, yeah,
I know.
Or
link to the videos themselves from my blog. Well, we'll see. Depends on how much, it depends on how many characters I use up in the video description, because you're limited to 5,000 characters. And once I put the chapters in, then there's not a lot of space left. I ended up having to delete one of my default paragraphs from last week's episode when I came down to wanting to put a summary at the top and linking to all of the chapters that I decided to add to it. I don't know why I ended up doing chapters on the last episode when I didn't for the last 3, I think, because I just didn't have the time. But yeah, sometimes I have the time to put them in and sometimes I don't. my God.
Very thorough.
My dad's coming for Daniel. He's being a protective dad, looking for a shotgun thinking.
That's funny.
This is why Daniel's not revealing where he lives. He's worried about my dad.
He knows what Frank is like, so it's like, yep.
All
Not today.
The theme song to Benny Hill kicks in.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel, how do you expect me to come and watch a movie with you if you don't tell me where you live?
Oh, well, I'll try. Just connect with him in Mongolia. I'm sure it'll turn out fine.
I mean, please feel free to have a date with Dominica, but just know that Sharad and I will be there as chaperones.
I'll have
a
stream the whole date to my YouTube channel.
YouTube canoodle on the sofa.
No.
Sharad and I are going to canoodle back in the kitchen.
I had there was one stream where somebody was telling, I think it was the 90s horror 90s teen horror film stream that I did. We had a viewer who was like, you should do reaction videos, like watching a movie and react to them. So what I should do is go on a date to watch The Secretary with Daniel and have the reaction video while we're watching it.
Think of the algorithm; it would love it. Like, yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's a thing for OnlyFans.
That's a really interesting idea. Like, if you
Not the OnlyFans thing.
if you record yourself watching an entire film, like put your headphones in so the camera that is recording you can't hear the movie, and you're just like, hey everyone, hit play at this time, and we'll just watch the
movie together. Yeah,
have this playing at the same time that you're watching the movie. Like, that would actually be kind of an interesting channel.
I don't know, because I've always wanted to start a reactional channel myself, because I follow quite a few things. Though technically, I don't know how to do it. That's the only thing. But I think Dominic should start.
What do you mean you don't know
I
how
could
to
probably
do it?
figure out how.
Well, like as in the camera, the editing, the lighting, the
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it.
Getting past copyright.
We could probably do it on with Restream right now. If we choose a movie, right, and we all press play at the same time, still kind of same circumstances. We're watching the movie with our headphones on, while also streaming, and then have our react, we all press play at the same time, so we all react in time with the
That'd
film.
be pretty cool.
So the idea, how you get around the copyright, is that you play the movie in your ears so that the camera recording you can't hear what you're listening to.
Right.
You can't hear the movie. So you just do a one shot, a one take. It doesn't.
Yeah. My dad had some hair laughter, and then Daniel's hiding from the shotgun shells.
That's funny.
Again, bam, 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 bam.
Don't worry, Daniel. My dad's probably more like Elmer Fudd or Yosemite Sam.
Ooh, that was can we web it?
Cannot aim. It's not.
Daniel.
No, I mean, technically, my dad's in Australia. He can't get a hold of a gun.
Shots fired.
My dad hasn't even left the country since 91. He's not an Australian citizen, and he just hasn't left the country since 91. Yeah.
Never even popped over to New Zealand to say hi?
Nope. 91 was the last time that we all came to the US as a family, before my parents split. So then after that, my dad could not afford to travel, and has various other reasons that he has not bothered to renew his passport and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Is Tasmania a country, or is it part of Australia?
It's a state in Australia. Yeah.
Are there devils there?
Mm-hmm. They're black.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do they scold and spin around?
I think we've talked about this before when we were having Oh, that reminds me. When we had all those Australian questions, Mike, remember you asked me about the boomerang and I was like, I made a boomerang and I was going to show it on the next stream and then I never did.
Yep.
But I do have it next to me. I pulled it out and I never showed it. But since I'm thinking about it, here is my boomerang that I painted in my childhood.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we had to do like Aboriginal style painting on it. I didn't make the boomerang itself, but I had to paint it. So yeah, I have a.
I like that. Was that a gecko?
Yes, that's a gecko.
Made of dots.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool, man.
And then we've got the emu, I think, and the kangaroo. Oh.
What's on the backside?
Nothing. It's just yellow.
Throw it at the wall and see what happens.
Mustard color. No, it's gonna break. I've never been able to throw it to make it come back. So it's more decorative for my case. But yes, boomerang. That's my childhood painting.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing.
He has to tell you. I don't know. He has to tell you.
What's that?
Sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
Are you watching other videos? Are you cheating on us right now, Sharad?
Never. I would never.
Show me your phone. Show me your phone.
Charging. It's charging, my friend.
Unlock it.
He's tricking us.
There you go.
You can hide things very easily. This is like back in the day where, the shared computers and you had to quickly click out of the porn and stuff because right? So
yeah, because that happened to you so often, I bet, Dominica, didn't it?
I mean, clearly it didn't happen to me, but I've heard the stories.
Of course you have. You've had the stories. You've had the myths. You've had the legends. Yeah.
No, I did private messaging on ICQ, sexy conversations with people.
Fair enough.
There was this guy at Lucky's Bar who asked me how to get on the Wi-Fi, and
oh no.
He was like his phone was turned off, right? And he goes, hey, can you show me how to get on the Wi-Fi? And I'm like, yeah, just open your phone, go to settings. So he turns his phone on and unlocks it, and there were all of these web browsers open on his phone.
Oh no!
Just, what's the word that we're using?
Corn.
It was corn after corn after corn after corn. And he was like frantically like, like not like I haven't seen that before. Like, you do it, we do it, like we all do it. It's totally fine. But he was just like, how do you? Yes. How do you get on the Wi-Fi? I have a business email to send. Yeah.
So funny.
Yes, I need emails because I'm sending it to Mike Vanderlei for a business meeting. Yeah. There you go.
Vanderlei Industries.
There you go.
We're in latex.
My dad says, the art of live television with accidents is a lost art.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, there's still some live TV stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think especially if there's animals involved.
Live television, like Pineapple Improv, live from
There you go. Did anyone watch the? I'm sorry, I didn't get around to it. Yeah, I was, I had other stuff that was happening when you were live.
I don't know how many people have watched it because I don't get those metrics.
But I did see that I got a notification for the first episode going up on YouTube today. So
yes, the first episode went up today.
So I can
congratulations.
Link that in the video description below as well.
Link the Zine.
Zine one?
Link the Zine. Because I don't get ad revenue through the YouTube link.
Fair enough. That's
Boo.
all right. I'm gonna link the Zine.
I have it for my international friends.
Aha.
There you go.
There we go.
Please, is there a disclaimer? Please only watch this if you're not in the United States.
Yeah.
Otherwise, is that in your
FYI, yeah.
description, Mike? Because if it's not, put that in your description.
I probably should. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably should.
Yep.
No. All right, my dad's talking about when he was 22, he had a 22 and BB guns growing up in Wyoming. And he made blowguns and slingshots. He enjoys target shooting. I am lethal with a squirt gun. What a gun.
Only if there's bleach
Right.
in there.
I didn't know that my dad had experience with guns. That's something I learned new today.
Well, a 22, to be fair, because I grew up around guns, a 22 is like, it's one grade above a BB gun. Like, it's still, it can be lethal, because it's like, it's a legit
Weapon.
Yeah, the bullet, the cartridge, it's like a legit cartridge with actual black powder in it, you know, and it sends the projectile much faster than it would send a BB. But yeah, it's in the gun world and the gun communities, a 22 gauge is referred to as just kind of like a kid's toy.
Okay.
Americans.
I thought that's what a BB was. But you know, it's a BB. Okay. I have no experience with guns whatsoever. But all I can think of, like, if someone mentions a BB gun, what I think of is the Royal Tenenbaums and the scene where they shoot a BB gun and it gets lodged in
in his knuckle.
In the knuckle, yeah.
Yeah.
Which character was that? Ben Stiller, I think.
Yeah, that was Ben Stiller's character.
Yeah.
You shot me. I was just trying to win. We were on the same team.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Man, I can watch that film again.
Actually, guys, before we continue, I don't know why this just triggered a memory. You just mentioned a celebrity's name. I'm sure that you two have heard of this as well. What happened with Gene Hackman and his wife when they were found in their home? Yeah, man. Like, that just
Kettle
of fish. The last time I saw Gene Hackman, like, there was a picture of him out and about, and he looked really, really frail, to be fair. But it's just really sad, like, and everything, right? So,
well, apparently correct me if I'm wrong, unless I read the report incorrectly, but he had like some form of like dementia or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And his wife had a different condition where she collapsed and died in the bathroom for whatever her condition was that I don't remember. And he, because of his dementia or Alzheimer's, he just didn't know what to do. And then he eventually, because he didn't have a caretaker, he very quickly passed away afterwards as well.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And then the dog, because the dog.
Yeah, the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read all of the details, just whatever kind of came up in my feed on Facebook. So I gathered about that much from what I saw on Facebook. But yeah. How you guys feeling? You want another question, or you feeling ready to wrap up soon?
For a few more minutes. I probably shouldn't drag it out too long.
Hit us with one more, por favor.
Uno más, por favor.
Do you want something from
Think
Dealer's choice.
Salacious. Think of something real gross and salacious.
Ooh.
Thinking off the top of my head, or something from a deck?
No, off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, gross and salacious. Right. Define salacious for me, because I don't know if I mean, I have maybe an interpretation. I don't know if it's...
Well, salacious kind of implies there's like a certain like dirty sexiness to it, but like I think Salacious is a little bit more about like what is gossip worthy.
Okay.
It's like naughty.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Have you ever been caught in the act
Yes.
of and describe the context of the circumstances?
One that really springs to mind was my room. I didn't lock the shower, and I think my roommate, I think he just assumed that no one was in. Walked in and said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," and just ran back out. So yeah,
Were you just showering, or were you?
I was with someone. No, I was
Were
with
you
someone. Yeah,
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So he's like, "Oh my God,
I walked in on my grandma taking a poop once. About it. That's about all I got.
Did you guys make eye contact?
Oh yeah, it was weird.
There you go.
Oh yeah, it was weird.
I mean, I don't have. That reminds me of just when my mum was sick with pancreatic cancer, and I had to help bathe her during that time. But that's a very different context of like,
oh sure,
than accidentally. Trying to think, have I had any situations? I've had situations where it's been risky, but I have not been caught. I have had uncomfortable situations where, like, when I was still married and we were traveling back to Australia and staying with my ex-husband's parents, and my ex-husband would still want to get busy with me, and I'd just be super uncomfortable. It's like I don't want his parents to hear stuff. They're not going to wander in on us, but like I just didn't want them to hear anything. So those are kind of my somewhat, but yeah, I don't think I've had any experiences where I've been walked out.
Triggers memory for me. Well, I've never been caught doing anything like that. I did when I was younger take kind of big risks, and there were a few times that I would have sex in front of a sleeping roommate.
Yeah.
And they could have woken up at any point. But probably the most dangerous was we never had sex, but we were kind of doing plenty of other things on the floor in front of her parents while they slept on the couch.
Oh no.
Wow. You like to live dangerously, don't you, Michael? Yeah.
Maybe.
I haven't done that in front of anyone's parents, but I do remember this is reminding me of while I was still like I had never had sex with anyone yet, but on one of my trips to Melbourne during the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, I think this was my third trip out, so I was would have been 18 then. And I was staying with a friend, and she had like a few other friends. One of them, his had a brother, and so he came and his brother came, and I ended up like doing stuff with the brother under a blanket on the couch in front of everyone and stuff. And I think like after everyone went to bed, like there was some dry humping stuff going on. So yeah, I guess that was maybe one of the riskier kind of situations. But I mean, there were all the other ones that I kind of think of are in terms of risky were with my ex-husband. Like I remember in his apartment complex, we did it under this like public staircase once. It's like anyone could have found us.
Yeah, of course.
It's like
That was the point, I think, wasn't it?
in the gym toilets, the restroom. Not that I shouldn't. Anyway, and there was a beach situation where I don't think anyone was at the beach, but I think they might have been like we're like behind some bushes and stuff. But it might have I don't know if this is a memory or if this is like a fear, or what. But like I feel like we might have heard voices at one point. Being
Voices.
So
Do it
yeah.
again, but this
Yeah,
time
always get-
do it slowly.
and in the ocean when there were other people around, but like nowhere like near, like right close to you.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
How about you, Sharad? What's your salacious question for the group?
Ooh. Okay. Can you guys? I'm sure you probably have thought about it. Can you guys tell me the time you've had the most inappropriate thought in the moment?
Wait.
Like for example, have you guys ever gotten frisky or felt frisky in a very awkward setting? For example, I can give you one.
Yeah.
It was a friend's wedding, and for no apparent reason, I swear to God, no apparent reason, I was at full mast like for like half the day, and I didn't know why. I didn't know why. And what's worse, I was romantic. Sure. And like, you know, I was wearing pleats and it fucking showed. So I was literally walking around like a penguin the entire day. And they're like, "You all right, mate?" I'm like, "Yeah, stiff back, bro. Stiff back." So yeah.
Well, something stiff.
Yeah. So like, just a very, very unfortunate moment, shall we say. Well, put it this way, like, at least it happened then. It wasn't as if I was teaching in the school and I had something like that happen yet. So
Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. This is making me think of when I was back in university and in the I think in my first year of university, I had a couple of friends that we'd like pass notes back and forth to each other. And I feel like there was a time where I was just sitting in a lecture theater while we were, exchanging notes and just brought myself to orgasm while just sitting there and I wasn't touching anything. I was just
just like a
I guess
mental...
Kegel kind of things, maybe and just
respect.
Yeah. And having to pretend nothing was happening.
Was your lecturer just like, "You really enjoyed that lecture, didn't you, Dominica? Good. I'll keep that."
Very intense.
Yeah, very enthusiastic. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah.
I don't even remember the context besides that. I'm just
I'm sure
it wasn't until Sharad's story that that memory was triggered. Oh my god, that was the thing that happened.
Yeah.
Horny teenagers.
Yeah.
For me, I can't remember. I don't know what the context was. It was I was in the mood.
So it's Tuesday for you.
Yeah, basically. I relieved myself in an airplane bathroom.
When you gotta go, I mean, hey, hang on. Does that technically make you a member of the Mile High Club? Technically speaking, does it?
I feel like you got to be doing it with somebody else.
Yeah, I feel like I go in that setting. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that's about as good as I've got. For my salacious question for the two of you,
let's hear it.
Myself included. What was tell our listening and viewing audience about the time that you were engaged in oral sexual pleasures and it was the absolute most disgusting, raunchy, foul. Like, you had such a gag reflex that you were trying to like keep it all down.
Huh.
I might have mentally blocked it out of my mind, I think.
Or how about just like a sexual encounter?
Okay, I'll go first. It wasn't bad per se, but the thing is, though, I think we've talked about what happens when you have a few drinks beforehand. It doesn't really go great.
Yep.
And mid-act, I kind of fell asleep. And I remember just a smack in my head just going, "Are you snoring down there?" I'm like, "Ah!"
Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you snoring down there?
And I just remember her just screaming my name. I'm like, this is not how I envisioned my name being screamed tonight.
Sharad!
Yeah. What are you doing? Are you snoring? I'm like, no.
Peace.
So,
You got
yeah.
anything, Dominica?
In terms of gag reflex kind of thing, yeah, some of my ex-husband's forceful kind of, trying to go too deep or, yeah, I'm not a big giver of oral engagements. I have to. There's been a limited number of guys that I've been super enthusiastic about doing that with, and my ex-husband was not one of them.
Fair.
Fair enough.
But when you started the question, the thing that came to mind was, and once you finish the question, like, this doesn't really apply, but because it wasn't my situation, as in I wasn't the giver, but I found it interesting when a guy knew I was menstruating and still chose to go down on me. I thought that was I thought it was very brave of him. Because I wouldn't do that.
Nope.
I know how different that tastes.
Unless maybe he wants to cosplay as Count Dracula, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
For me, it was, I think I already shared, I lost my virginity late in life. I was 27 years old.
Yes,
and
you did.
I couldn't hold on to it any longer. I was dying. I had to let go of my V card. So, the woman that I was engaged with at the time, not marital,
right.
The woman that I was with, she hadn't really cleaned herself.
Oh no!
And it was my first time going down on someone.
Oh no!
And it was just it just tasted so bad. And to make matters worse, while I was down there, and she had no idea that she did this. Why would she? But there was a giant bubble that started expanding in front of my face, and then it popped like right on my nose. And it was just the most like, like, and like, here you are, like right in the middle of the act, and you're trying to act all sexy, and your gag reflex just kicked it, and I was like, I wanted to throw up all over her. It was so gross. It was just disgusting.
You had a genuine reason for asking this question.
Yeah.
From that story. Wow, I think you win that.
I think you win. I think you win, sir.
Wow.
Queef bubble. Hashtag queef bubble.
Wow. Okay.
Wait. Do it again. Right on my nose.
Oh.
I'll start calling you Rudolph from now on, I think.
Blue Ludolf.
Ugh.
Well, on that, I don't know about you guys.
Well, look, I'm gonna pull up some comments, and my dad did have a question. If we have time for the one more question,
Yeah.
I'll bring up Daniel's
Of course,
comments
yeah.
first,
Of course.
since Daniel was commenting in response to our last group of
I
questions.
hope you're satisfied, Frank. Yeah, there you go.
So Daniel says, does getting caught having sex on a picnic table on a nature trail, then getting kicked out by park security count? Yes. Yeah. I think Daniel.
I would say that, I don't know, like that sounds pretty natural to me. If you're in a natural environment.
I think he wins the answer to that question
Yeah.
that I asked
yeah.
previously, or that we were discussing previously. Then this confession brought to you by Kegels.
Kegels.
Muscle control is important,
You're not wrong, sir.
especially later in life after you've had a few children. And there may be some incontinence issues.
Very, very important.
Sorry, before I put this question, which reminds me of something that came up in my Facebook memories. I think it was today. It might could have been yesterday. Was I posted? I'm like, here's a TMI post, but I'm gonna share it anyway. And I posted about how I sneezed and peed a little at the same time.
Wait, you sneezed and peed what?
I peed
At the same time.
Me sneezing made me pee a little.
Oh yeah.
And I posted about it on Facebook.
People do that?
Yeah, but they don't post about it on Facebook.
Yeah, a little chew and a tinkle. Yeah.
Well, maybe more people should.
Yeah.
That's my dad. My dad says what? That's Mike's
20s.
guardian angel hinting.
At 27?
At 27.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Or guardian angel.
I lost my virginity at age.
Even your angel's like, come on, bro.
Yeah. You gotta.
And Daniel said, hashtag not the bubble bath had in mind. Okay. Last question for the stream, which is related to this stuff, the questions that we've been asking, I guess. But my dad asks, what grosses you out most?
Let me put it this way. When I had just graduated high school. I had a job working at this farm and garden store. I was just basically the hey, you kid, carry heavy things to people's cars, right? So like all the grunt work was assigned to me.
Important job.
Very important job, yeah. So there was a loading dock that was at this farm and garden store that they couldn't use because, and I don't know how long all this stuff had been sitting there. It was rotten potatoes. And when I say rotten potatoes, I mean there must have been a few thousand pounds of rotten potatoes. It went maybe 4 or 5 feet deep, and the space. I mean, it was a loading dock. It was a part of the building that you opened up the garage door and semi trucks would back into, actually back inside the building. And then you would just, do the unloading there. So that whole area, so it's maybe like the width of a semi truck. And it was like 4 or 5 feet deep of just rotten potatoes. I have never in my life smelled something so foul and gag inducing. Like it was just rotten potatoes. It was so gross. And I'm not describing it.
Thank you.
I'm not doing it.
Thank you.
How terrible it actually was, but it was worst thing I've ever smelled in my life.
Yeah.
Easily.
Wow. What about you, Sharad? What grosses you out?
I mean, it's kind of hard to top that, then, isn't it? I don't know. It's just it's very very similar. When I think what grosses me out the most is, and this is going to sound very very childish, but I can't handle seeing people get sick. If they get sick, I get sick. If they start going, I'm like, oh, and even if they're not in front of me, even if it's on TV, I'll watch them go, oh, I'm like, oh.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
That's-
so yeah.
I was going to answer similarly, but yours sounds more intense than mine. For me, it's the smell that gets to me. So once the smell of vomit and sick comes like into my nostrils, and like, ugh. And it's really hard to have that experience when you have kids that are sick, right? And then you have to clean up
Oh
after them.
dear.
And it's like,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah.
They get sick on you, then you get sick on them.
Thankfully,
you know-
drinking at Lucky's Bar, the smell of sick doesn't get to me the way that you think it would. But
Sure.
every now and again, you have to clean up somebody's vomit, and it's
Yeah.
gross, but
Yeah.
it's not the gag reflex
I guess
thing.
if you
Yeah.
had to deal with it more frequently, maybe.
And I suppose for you, it was quote unquote a job. So it's not that you had to turn that part of your brain off, right? So yeah.
Well, so was the
Doesn't
rotten
make it easier.
potatoes thing. That was part of his.
Yeah. Oh.
Wow.
How long were you stuck doing that? Was it just a one time, or was it a continual thing? Were you there for more than a short period of time?
What are we talking about?
The rotten potatoes thing.
Specifically,
Was it just like we just opened it and you just went, and then you just closed the door, or did
It
you?
was all open air. The whole thing was open air.
Oh.
So think of it. It was like a pit, right? So you had like a concrete platform, and then there was a pit that went down maybe like 5 feet over, I don't know, 6 feet, however long or wide a Big Mac truck is. Not a Whopper truck, but a Big Mac truck. So it was just like this pit. So I think that was an all day, if not a 2-day project, because I had a shovel and a wheelbarrow. And then I think I had to wheel it all out back, because it was just like grass and woods and trees. So just let the potatoes decompose naturally.
Oh my god.
In the woods, but
you're the one who had to deal with it.
Yeah.
Did anyone help you, or was it just you?
I think it was just me.
Wow. Oh, you poor
guy. The other guy that they assigned to help me was like, "Nope, fuck that. You're the junior kid."
Not today, Satan. Not today.
They should have given you one of those respiratory masks that like allows the better breathing.
It was 2001. No one cared.
Yeah.
We lived in the sticks. We were the country bumpkins.
Yeah,
we were
the hillbillies. All right. Well, I guess that wraps up our stream for tonight.
Awesome.
I will. We'll figure out the time for the next stream after we're tune off or end this, and then I'll post the scheduled stream on YouTube hopefully tomorrow.
And for anyone in Australia, that's the scheduled time.
Scheduled.
I don't always. This is interesting. I don't always know which pronunciation I'm using.
No. No.
Yeah, as always, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions for us that you'd like us to ask in the next stream, drop them in the comment section below the video. Happy to bring them up in the next stream. Leave us some questions. If you want to send your questions privately, that's that email address on the channel. You can do that now. Or dominicacreates@gmail.com. It's easy to remember. The same username that I use for all the social medias. And yeah, subscribe if you're not already subscribed.
Please
Share the link with your friends. Tell them to come and ask us some questions as well. We love to have the audience interaction. It's awesome.
Shout out to Zissou. Shout out to Lego Timmy. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Frank.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
What did you guys
Mwah.
tonight? Thank you so much for
Thank you so
joining
much.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see everyone popping in
Mhm.
and chatting with us.